I don't understand what you mean that it doesn't feel like the week of July 4th.
No, it doesn't. I think Greg would agree with me on that. It doesn't feel like 4th of July week so far. It's early still, granted. It's only Monday.
What does that mean, though? What does that week feel like?
4th of July week feels different. You know, the calendar's playing a sick, twisted game with us this year with 4th of July where it's on a Friday because normally you get, like, you know, the work company holiday where you look forward to, like, a Wednesday 4th of July's are awesome. You look forward to, like, a Wednesday 4th of July. And then they say, you know what, just take the week. You know, let's celebrate America. Let's celebrate freedom. Take, you know, the 5th and 6th off. Come back. We'll see you next week.
Thursday would have been perfect.
Thursday would have been fine. Friday doesn't feel like the 4th of July, and there's not that, you know, that Sandlot feeling in the air with the 4th of July, you know, where you're like anticipating it, you're looking forward to it, you know, oh, this big thing is coming. Where do I go see fireworks? Do I go to the beach? Do I go to the pool? What are we going to do? Maybe I'm alone in this, but I don't feel it this year. Not yet. It's Monday. It's early still.
I think I'm going to stun you. Saturday afternoon, guess who strolls into a fireworks store?
Uncle Sam.
This guy.
Wow. A fireworks store.
No
wow.
way.
What'd you get?
Sparklers?
I got $130 worth of stuff, and I bypassed the sparklers.
On this economy, that's like 3 fireworks.
But
Firework
everything
prices
was buy
way
one.
up.
Everything was buy one, get 2 free.
Yeah, of course it was.
And
Not
it
a good
just-
sign.
Where'd you go? Phantom fireworks?
No,
Saw you
Dania
coming.
Beach.
Dania Beach.
Yes.
Wow. Did you go specifically for fireworks?
No,
Oh.
I just happened to be driving by, and I just saw a giant tent for fireworks, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to make it feel like July 4th week. I'm going to choose that right now, today. Now, $130 sounds like a lot, but it's not really.
I would have thought. I picture you walking in there. Give me your most expensive.
What kind you get? The kind that like you shoot out of the Roman candle, the ones that shoot into the sky?
Look, I had to give my license in order to buy these explosives.
Yeah, you do.
Like these were not. This was not just sparklers. This was. These look like small little bombs.
Dangerous game crossing county lines with explosives there, Danny. I don't know if you want to do that moving
Is it?
forward. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll be showing up for work next week with 4 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
What is July 4th supposed to feel like? Like, what is the week of July 4th? When he says, is it because you're thinking of days off and it's just going to feel like a regular week, and then on Friday you're going to get a national holiday?
I think the older you get, the less you feel. Really, might be what it is. Like as a kid, you look forward to it, you plan it. What are we gonna do? This, that, and then like we're not there. I mean, you obviously you're still there. You're buying fireworks a week early. Are you putting on a fireworks show? Like where you plan on setting these off? Can we come?
I'm going to go get the help of Valerie's brother.
I see it. Trying to seem cool for the brother-in-law.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Well, no, it sounds like he's hired help. He's setting off the fireworks.
No, but
for
like
Dan.
her brother's into it, so it's like we're going to hang out. How can I I'm gonna buy what he's into? Nice.
The last time we did this, Valerie's father and her brother, I want to say they're very good at this, but the house caught fire. Like in the middle.
Well, then they're very bad at that.
Yeah, they were very good at it before that one incident, but they do like explosives.
Giants owner John Mara, who also today said he doesn't know how many fingers JPP has.
It kind of seems like if the last time you did this, Valerie's father and brother set the house on fire, and you are now buying them more fireworks, there may be some sort of, I don't want to say insurance plot going on here, or maybe we're trying to eliminate the family for some reason, but it seems as though there's a history here of, incidents, and you're arming them with the same weapons as the last time.
Okay, it's not. I mean, I guess it's one time.
Do you hate them?
I don't know if it's a history. I do not hate them.
Okay, good, good. It's good to say that on the front end.
The thing that caught fire, it's a giant grid that was thrown away while it was still a little bit orange.
Ooh, a grid of death, you're saying.
It could have been. I mean, the car caught a little bit of fire. The house caught a little bit of fire.
Wait a minute. How does a car catch a little bit of fire?
The hood and stuff, like it was learned at the time. Well, it's before it explodes, really, right? A car catches a little bit of fire. Once it explodes, it's exploded.
Yeah, it's like a firework when it explodes.
Yeah. What'd you do? You have a fire extinguisher? How'd you put out the pre-explosion car?
Hard to have something catch a little bit of fire. It's either on fire or it's not on fire.
Well, the home didn't burn down, so it caught a little bit of fire.
No, Michael Jackson, hair, a little bit of fire.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I've told you guys before that I enjoy the Frank Isola, Brian Scalabrine, the starting lineup show, the basketball show they do. And on the way in, I heard them talking, and Isola is quoting a report that says the Knicks are going to interview Dawn Staley as head coaching candidate. And Scalabrine's response was, I try to avoid these topics. And then they moved on.
What?
And I'm like, that doesn't hurt Scalabrine. He's better off. You know what his theory was on this? He's like, I'm just going to say why not. Instead of addressing whether or not the Knicks would hire a coach and put a pressure on a coach who has never coached an NBA game before.
She's a woman?
That the answer to why not?
Is that a pro or a con?
Most people would answer that. Most sports fans, most Knicks fans would say that's where you start with why not.
I would love to see that. I really would. And if I really would.
Did Isola, was that his rebuttal?
No, they moved on. They moved on because they didn't want to do. I mean, I just thought it was so funny that Scalabrine considers that a controversial topic. The fact that in 2025,
like a woman exists
I tried to avoid these topics. I'm like, what topics? Who's going to coach the Knicks?
I don't know. I don't think the group chat got what I was doing there. This is why I try to avoid these topics.
Are we talking about undeserving statue recipient Dawn Staley? Right, Greg? Isn't that what you said?
Let's not do this.
Yeah.
Would she be deserving of the statue if she moved on to the Knicks?
Absolutely, yeah, because she would be groundbreaking. Look, when I first heard this...
All right, here we go.
Oh, no.
No.
Let's hear it, Mo.
Mm-hmm. My immediate reaction was cynicism. Like, the New York Knicks win this because they come off as revolutionary and trend-setting. It could be a publicity stunt. Like, we don't know how serious they are, but they win just for the effort. But then again, you look at Dawn Staley, despite not deserving a statue yet in her career, what female basketball coach is more qualified to break this ceiling than Dawn Staley? I can't think of any.
Brian Windhorst is on Get Up saying that the reason that the Knicks were on Kevin Durant's preferred list and they said thanks but no thanks to Kevin Durant is because Giannis Antetokounmpo is obviously the Knicks' main target, and according to Windy, they didn't pursue Kevin Durant because of the possibility that Giannis would be available. Again, I would say I would love to see it.
Just like the Heat.
I would love to see Giannis end up in New York coached by Dawn Staley. Give her a loaded team. Give her a team that's a step away, and then see if she could be better than Thibodeau when you didn't know what you were doing with your coaching search. And now you end up in a spot where Dawn Staley is among the biggest names you can get. If it's not going to be, what is it, Mike Brown?
I'm listening.
Let's try that again.
Like
I don't think he's had enough opportunities.
It would be inspired. It would be inspired. It would be inspired as something that is groundbreaking from an organization that had Isaiah Thomas swept out in sexual harassment, to give over, to not know what you're doing after Thibodeau in a way that reveals to everybody, oh, you didn't actually have a plan with your coaching search, and then end up on a candidate that on a candidate that would legitimately bring something to tabloid city that would be the biggest, most famous, splashiest thing you could possibly do if you're the New York Knicks.
Can it be groundbreaking if by reports it's like your 9th option for all the people they tried to interview?
Yeah. Do you find inspiration after failing 9 times? Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes.
It still would be groundbreaking. And also,
She was our 10th option. We got 9 no's. So here we are.
Can you imagine being met with brava, inspired after failing 9 times?
I think he would. The Knicks would still get credit for the hire. And you know what? James Dolan, with that hire, would go a long way to refiguring his entire negative image into a positive.
Nope.
I think so.
Nope.
No, I think this move would get crushed.
Really?
By the fan base? Yeah, I think it would get
I wasn't
crushed.
even doing that. I'm saying there is no move that Dolan can make.
The
that
sphere, I
erases
mean.
all the Dolan.
The Sphere? People are looking at Jimmy Dolan. Whoa, look at this
If
guy.
ever a move you can make to transform your image, it's making history with a hire such as this.
I don't think we're there. We weren't there a couple of years ago, and wherever we were a couple of years ago, we're further away from now. I just think it'd get crapped on by that fan base.
I don't know what that fan base wants because it's not available. So whatever's going to be better than Thibodeau isn't something that is going to appear in any form. There's no place from which, I mean, if Jason Kidd is in play, I don't know if that makes everybody enthusiastic, but they're stuck in a situation where they're unlikely to do anyone who brings any more enthusiasm than Thibodeau, and now they're testing themselves against the idea that Thibodeau is somehow addition by subtraction.
Well, look, I know that this is going to sound shocking, and please keep in mind I'm speaking to a relative fan base, right? I think they want a dude.
Okay.
I think they'd want a dude.
I'm glad we talked this through.
Okay, fool them. Maybe Dawn can spell her name D-O-N,
Yeah,
and then they'll be fooled.
Who's this Donald Staley?
Right.
A new dawn is the tabloid headline. Billy made fun of the Heat in there. Duncan Robinson opts out of his contract. I can't believe I'm about to say what I'm about to say, but it is absolutely true. Duncan Robinson is the single best shooter in franchise history, and his story might be better than that. Just what he formed himself into as a value, as a 10-year veteran of the NBA that is now opting out of a contract, and I think we were surprised by that. And then the next reporting on that seemed to all be Duncan's working with the team. And I hope he is, and maybe he is, but I don't know what will appear in terms of offers as teams now all sign their own free agents, because free agency opens today, and everyone seems to just be signing their own guys. So I'm assuming that Duncan Robinson is working with the team on however it is that they get him to more money and flexibility. But this really is one of the great success stories in franchise history. And that won't change for me if at the end here he decides, oh, there's a big offer over there somewhere that's better, because that shooting's going to be valuable in this league. Like, no matter what, that kind of shooting's going to have value for the next 5 years.
He's a curious player, curious case study, because he is, in many respects, one of the first examples of culture personified, developmental skills by the organization, but also highly criticized despite bringing himself up to that level because he shrinks in moments. I think maybe we were laughing back here. I think his biggest moment in a Heat uniform is probably putting Wembanyama in a blender. Yeah, I guess team friendly. If you want to be loyal to the team that will probably actively shop you come February, that's cool.
But no, Mark Stein's already reporting that Detroit is interested in a sign and trade, and he's going to have value for the same reason that Desmond Bane has value. Like if you no, I'm not saying he's Desmond Bane, and I'm not saying he's going to bring back 5 picks. I'm saying that for the same reason, if you're bad at 3-point shooting, and you can get one of the best shooters, that's going to have values to teams like Houston and like Orlando who were bad at those things.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep thinking, just central Heat focus. Strus took his job for a reason. Strus left. Strus was a good signing for Cleveland. Duncan Robinson has not been as good as Strus, and I think just further confirmed why that was the right decision back then.
I think those are two different players, right? Duncan is not the same guy that Max is. Max is a more well-rounded player, and he was that from the day he showed up. He was just playing the shooter role on the Heat's team, but he also was able to do some different things. The thing with Duncan that's so cool is, like, you're talking about this Division III player that then goes D1, that goes undrafted, that ends up working his way through the G League to get to the Heat, and then earns this giant contract. And that's really where he became polarizing, because he made $90 million and Heat fans expected a certain level of performance and a certain level of growth. But he did grow his game. After going back to the bench and being totally shifted out of the roster, then he ends up back in the rotation, and he's been in and out. He's been a professional the whole way through. If this is it with Duncan, he is the greatest shooter in franchise history to this point, and that's pretty special. I'd love to see him back, but okay.
Back to you, Eric.
Look, I think the majority opinion on Duncan Robinson is that he was grossly overpaid and hasn't quite ever lived up to his contract, and if he leaves in free agency, there won't be a lot of flowers and tears. And that's not even anti-Duncan Robinson. I think I'm representing what most Heat fans feel about him.
He should end all his Heat takes with back to you.
Back
Eric.
to you, Eric. Killed me, man.
That was awesome.
Let's make it clear to the audio audience, because our voices can be similar. That was Chris.
I said that.
That's how you sign off.
There's just 6 seconds of extra fat on everything.
I'm not going to miss Duncan Robinson
Thanks.
if he goes.
There you go.
But if he wants to re-up for a team-friendly deal that may or may not be adhered to by this organization in the coming years, cool. We can start having the jersey retirement conversation, I guess, because he is going to hold all these records. And yes, while statistically he's the greatest shooter in franchise history, stop.
That jersey ain't going up.
He's not. Right. He's not. I've seen better shooters wear that uniform. Game 6 for your life.
I'm going to stop you there. The Heat are 49-13 when Duncan Robinson has scored 20-plus points. The Pistons need shooting, at least in part, because Malik Beasley is in the middle of a bunch of gambling stuff. He was about to get a 3-year, $40 million contract, and now there's an investigation going on, and there are going to be more and more of these in the coming years as some of the gambling money seeps into the locker rooms, and you're going to get players who get embroiled in this stuff. So the Pistons, who are this far away, right, because they came very close to beating the Knicks, were probably good enough to beat the Knicks. You assume they will grow. You assume they will get better. The Pistons are young and hungry, and people view them as a legitimate contender now because they expect an improvement from Detroit. This ignores how good Cleveland was all season. But I do think most people believe Detroit is coming. And stunningly, when we did that live watch party with Mero and Sam Morrill, both of them gave more respect to the Pistons as a feared opponent in the future than the Pacers, which I thought was crazy.
Well, they're hating-ass haters, Dan. That's what they were doing there. There's the rumor, innuendo on social media is that there was a string of games in which Malik Beasley came well under his rebound average, and there was a lot of sharp action based off of his rebound props. So that's what appears to be at the core of this investigation.
I am sorry that I did this to Billy because I saw that he came in today bounding into the office because the Marlins are mashing the baseball.
Best team in baseball.
They've won. Well, the Rays in their last 40.
Enough with the Rays,
In
please.
their last
I'm so
40,
tired of the Rays. Get a
in their
stadium. Leave me alone, Rays.
In their last 40, the Rays are better than anybody.
Okay, last 40. How about the last 6, 8,
No,
9?
the Marlins are.
whatever.
The Marlins have won their last 7 in a row. They win 3 at Arizona.
And 3 at San Francisco before that, and then take out kind of the homestand, and then 3 at San Francisco. And it's, this team's hot.
Those are decent teams.
Road Warriors.
The first time they've ever won 6-0 for a road trip.
And they're hitting the ball like a ton. They're beating, like the Diamondbacks hit the ball. And so when you're beating them 9-8 and you're beating them late, and the Giants are better than the Diamondbacks, that was a fun road trip. The Marlins started the season so poorly that a lot of people haven't noticed that they've been mashing.
Yeah.
And Billy came in happy today.
Of course I'm happy. Why would I not be happy? And we're headed into 4th of July week. It just feels like a special week now with Marlins coming home the 4th of July, you know. There's a number of giveaways that, be going to get there's the thing is this. Here's the thing about the giveaways, right? It's the quantities. It's not I don't know if you guys have noticed, the Marlins haven't had the greatest of attendances this season.
Really?
So, like, tomorrow, there's a nice Guayabera giveaway. Yeah. But it's only for the first 3,000 fans. And then I need to start playing the game where it's like, okay, 3,000 fans, but there's 4 entrances. Are we divvying up how they give away the Guayaberas so each entrance has the same one? Do I go to a less populated entrance to get one? How early do I have to get there? Because my experience the past couple of times I've gone is I don't get the giveaway. And then I look around and I start doing some, finger math where I'm trying to count. I'm like, I don't think that there's 7,500 people here right now an hour before the game, but I still didn't get, this Hippie Hoppa hat that I was promised. So I'm kind of trying to look around and figure out what time do I get there if I want to get the Guayabera. And then the follow-up seems cool. I don't know the quality of it just yet. I haven't seen it. I've seen a photo, but I haven't seen the quality. But it does look good. But do I then wear a Guayabera with a Marlins logo on it somewhere after the fact? Like if I have a, family member that passes and we decide that we're going to go a little more casual to the funeral, do I wear a Marlins embroidered Guayabera there? I don't know. 4th of July is coming up. I saw that on the 5th. They're giving away this giant American flag jersey. I don't think I'm going to make it there for that. But the 4th, you get fireworks indoors. Here's the thing about fireworks. On the 4th of July, besides Dan maybe trying to kill his family members with it, burn down houses, cars. What?
Back to you, Eric.
A Guayabera.
Marlins Park is a safe place to see fireworks. You have to go through security, right? I mean, I don't want to scare people, but fireworks shows kind of scare me a little bit. There's lots of loud. It's dark. There's lots of explosions. You don't know what's going on. It's like room for chaos.
But that's the whole point of fireworks. You just described
that was quaint
fireworks.
And fun in the 70s, not in today's
Are
day.
you guys fireworks people? Any of you?
I'm like you. I'll go to a store, spend $100.
It's hopeless to buy your own fireworks. You can't compete. The city is going to have a better fireworks show than you do in your own backyard. My neighbors in the street every year, they do the fireworks thing.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun,
You've seen one, you've seen them all.
You've seen one, you've seen them all. They're small scale, and then you look up in the sky, and here's the city going boom, boom, bloom, bloom, and it's a beautiful thing. Boom, boom, you can't compete with that by spending $150 in Dania Beach.
You're living, though, when you jog away from that little sad little box right there, and you're like, I hope it doesn't tip over. Like, that's living. Yeah.
You know what's fun? Lighting one of those little black snakes. Those little.
It's the most dangerous thing I do.
That little tablet. Just take a little lighter there.
My wife's like, honey, don't do, no. I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm lighting it. I got it. Stand back. Grab Graceland. I got this. I'm going in.
Put it on the poll, please. Are you really living if you're not running away
Sad
scared from the...
Chris, you ever have the one, you light it and it tips over and you're like, there's still time to stand it up. You go and you try to stand it up.
No. I usually just jump on my daughter at that point. It tilts over at all.
Wow, what
So
a hero.
whack. So whack. Everyone's got 9.5 beers in them.
It's so like the street you're on so dark, so it's just
so
like
dark.
pitch black, and all of a sudden,
And for sure.
Farts out a little sparkle.
Nobody's seeing it but you and your family.
So dumb, man.
You know what? I hadn't even considered the stupidity of what I put my license down for on Saturday.
Really dumb.
Because I thought, I got to be honest, I get to the front there and
To me, there is no bigger red flag than dude that is way too excited to light off fireworks. I'm like,
sad fireworks,
yeah,
the sad ones.
Yeah, we got it. You got guns at home.
From 2 counties away.
Yeah. Oh my God, a guy that drives down to the
Why'd
Keys to
you
get
drive
fireworks.
to Dania to buy fireworks?
Spent
I don't get
$2K.
it.
You and I do not have anything in common.
I was already in Dania, and I was just driving down the street, Billy, and on the other side of the street was a fireworks display.
I know that
Please
place.
stop making me drive 50 minutes on a pilgrimage to go buy fireworks.
Dania's far.
It is far.
Did you stop by Jackson's?
That's a nice little Saturday.
You know what?
was
You know
right
what I
by
tell
Jackson's.
somebody when they tell me, "Hey, man, I just drove like 2 counties over to get all these fireworks." I tell them immediately, "I know exactly how you voted."
Okay. The thing that I did, though, that I want, I'd love to be able to get the security footage of, because you would have seen me coming to the front instead of getting a cart or anything, just trying to carry as many explosives toward the front as I could. And so when I got there and they only charged me $130, I couldn't believe it. I thought I had gotten... I'm leaving with 3 bags worth of explosives that I had to give my license for. And then as I'm driving home, I'm thinking to myself, smoking a cigar in the car with the fireworks next to me. I'm thinking to myself as I'm doing this, I'm like, in a couple days, a whole bunch of people who don't have any experience with explosives are going to be firing them away at each other on our national holiday, and I'm going to be one of them. And surely hospitalizations go. Is there a day we get more injured in America than July 4th? Like if you had to guess, is it what one day more than any other in America injures the most Americans because they're just whatever, partying and around explosives? Wouldn't July 4th be your guess?
Oh, yeah, that's my default guess, and I think that outnumbers the next 5 most likely dangerous days.
What would be second most dangerous?
According to AI on Google, the 4th of July is often cited as the holiday with the most injuries, while Thanksgiving and New Year's Day also have high numbers of injuries and fatalities.
According to the Ryan Law Group, the number one day for traffic fatalities is July 4th. For whatever reason, the second is August 2nd.
Wow.
Appears right in the middle of the summer and the bell curve for driving fatalities.
Our day.
New Year's Day is second for similar reasons because there are fireworks and drinks.
Behind August 2nd.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I was not expecting to get halfway through the season and have for the first time this season a reason to talk about the Marlins that isn't Ryan Weathers getting hit in the head by a baseball because the catcher is trying to make a practice throw to second base. There was no reason to talk about the Marlins at all, but winning these games this way against those teams on the road at least sets the Marlins up to please give us games that matter this week. At least they're giving us games that matter this week, which isn't where I thought I'd be this season.
Hey, look, you're headed into July 8 games under 500. And you know what? Last year, you know who was 8 games under 500 headed into July? The Detroit Tigers, who still sold off at the deadline but ended up making a run late in the season as a playoff push. Do I think that that's what's going to happen here with the Marlins? Who knows? But what is fun is that they traded for Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby, and Stowers has been maybe their best offensive player. Dane Myers has emerged as a legitimate everyday center fielder. Otto Lopez playing shortstop. Since the start of this month, he's top 5 in WAR according to Fangraphs. He's hitting over 300. He's been spectacular defensively. Augustin Ramirez, who they call up, has been mashing. He's the first guy in several categories to do what Giancarlo Stanton was doing early in his career. No, he had extra base hits. I believe he had multiple doubles in 3 straight games or something like that. And it ended up being the first guy since Stanton. Lopez with a stretch here of 9 RBIs. It's really fun to watch players develop and grow together and win a bunch of games in a row. And who knows where the season goes, but this has been a really fun, entertaining team playing competitive
Billy,
close
what are you
games.
shaking your head about?
He's ruining it for me. Why? Like, I was excited, I was having fun, and now, I don't know.
I spoke, and everything went to
shit.
shit.
For me a little bit, yeah.
What
I mean, he
happened?
started it out with, do I think this team is going to do what the Tigers did last year? Who knows? Well, you would know. Do you feel that way? Do you think that they're going to do it, Chair Bear?
I think that the team has some really fun pieces that can continue to compete because this isn't a total fluke in playing competitive games. They've played a lot of close games all season long. They've lost
like
a lot of those close
nails,
games.
a board or something.
That's a little unfair.
Should I just go?
No,
He's getting
Jeremy,
mad.
I'm sorry.
Be nice to Jeremy.
Can we look?
Last week sucked. I
He's
thought I was
trying.
coming in with a better energy.
Really?
No,
today.
Jeremy, you're a talent. Let's be judicious with this. Come on. He's working hard. Proceed. Go for it.
15 RBIs in the last 7 games for Otto Lopez. Most for a Marlins hitter in a 7-game span since Hanley Ramirez in 2009.
Wow, what a
Thank
bizarre
you.
stat.
Back to you, Eric. Okay. You got to at least say that.
I have to say one thing about the Marlins, and I, by nature, am not a person who's always going to look for the negative in what is, on the surface, positive. But this allows Bruce Sherman, one of the cheapest owners in all of sports, not just baseball, to justify not spending. And I would ask this of Marlins fans, and answer me honestly. Shouldn't this mean that the Marlins are now not sellers, but buyers at the trade deadline? They're going to still trade Alcantara, and it's going to be evidence that all their priority is divesting.
No,
of
but
big
wait a minute.
contracts.
They'll be trading him at his lowest possible value. Like they'd be.
No, he's been hot.
He's been better lately.
He's been hot
His
the
last
last
start
month.
was bad, but he had been really good before.
He's
that.
improved his draft stock or his trade value.
He has trade value again.
in the last month.
Yeah, plus he's signed for the next couple years. It's not like this is a 1-year rental for him that you're going to have to give up the farm and then you might lose him. He's under contract and he's figured it out or he's turned it around as of late.
Especially because he was coming off Tommy John. So this was really his chance to have a spring training in those first couple of months as he rehabbed. It was sort of timing. This last month, he's finally felt like himself.
My point is, does this mean the Marlins are now going to say, hey, we can be this year's Tigers? We're going to buy.
They
We're
sold.
going to
The
spend.
Tigers sold last year.
Yep.
Okay, but they still were a winning team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they did that
The
while
Marlins
still following the path that they wanted to as a franchise, which was they traded away Jack Flaherty, who was one of their top starters, but they held on to Tarek Skubal, who's a Cy Young Award winner. That
guy's good.
That would be
That dude rocks. He's amazing. He's amazing. I know.
He's awesome. Jeremy, hold on.
Let's
hold
go.
on.
Let's stay there. I love that guy.
Jeremy,
Let's
hold
get
on,
one of those,
hold on. Well, we had one.
Yeah, but
That
then the
was-
old TJ.
Well, you say the old TJ, but Otani just threw the ball
Oh,
harder than
please.
he's ever
Bullshit with
thrown the
Otani. I'm
ball.
so tired of this Otani crap. He's throwing an inning and a half every time he goes out. Can
107.
we stop celebrating that he's throwing 103 miles an hour? He's throwing 25 pitches. Like, this is a circus and a dog and pony show with Otani. Oh, look at how hard he's throwing. Yeah, how about you get to 5 innings? How about you get to 4 innings? He's pitching 2 innings a game. Like, it's ridiculous that we're celebrating as some glorious comeback. He's not going deep into any of these games. We're just doing it for clicks and social this and that and likes and Instaface. Enough. How about you pitch an entire game, Otani, or
Yeah.
give someone else a shot that's going to?
bring back the complete game.
Not even a complete game. How about qualify for a win? Pitch long enough where you can qualify for a win. Otani, please. How about you pick a position also? Guys taking up all these roster spots and jobs that other people can have. Ridiculous.
Yeah, journeyman.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what?
what?
He's a journeyman.
He's
Can't
had
pick-
quite a journey.
Can't pick a position. Is he a pitcher? Is he a hitter? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody's sure.
Anyway, Otani threw a baseball harder than he ever has, but I'd like to meet the enthusiasm of discovery on Skubal that Chris, Cody, and Mike Ryan had, because when I saw him pitch at the beginning of last year, because of how he throws a baseball and body type, the first time I saw a baseball come out of his hand, I'm like, that's the hardest thing a left-hander has ever thrown. That's better than Kershaw. That's something that's not hittable by human beings in any way. And he's only gotten better since then. And last night, the Twins, a good baseball team, are a monster dog because everyone now knows when Skubal pitches, it's 7 innings, 1 hit, and you're going to strike out 13. Last night, and it's like, how does anyone hit that? No one can hit that. That's not hittable. He's going to have the only thing that fells that is injury. He's too physically strong for hitters, for human beings to do anything with he's throwing with what he's throwing.
I've seen about 6 of his starts on the MLB package, and I'm just blown away by how fearless he is. Gas, and then just not intimidated at all. Goes right at guys, and a changeup from hell. It's from hell. It's crazy. He pulls it back like it's on a string. That guy's awesome.
I feel like hell is filled with all sorts of change-ups, don't you? Where you're just wandering through hell and
no,
everything
for me
is
it's
meant
like
to trick
It's
you.
the heat in hell, yeah.
No, it's like 84 miles per hour from Jamie Moyer. That's hell.
Scooble dooble doo.
He's right.
What?
They should have had a moment of mourning. They really should have for the loophole being closed in hockey that allowed the Lightning and the Panthers to sneak people in at the end of the season and break the salary cap in half. They are now through the new collective bargaining agreement that's going to save hockey for at least the next 5 years. Evidently, they're eliminating the thing that the state of Florida used to its advantage better than anybody, which is winning with an accounting loophole of we can slide Tkachuk in once the playoffs start, let him sit the second half of the season, and even though he was hurt in the Four Nations, go out and get Seth Jones and Marchand because Tkachuk's stashed away. They've now eliminated the ability to do that, accounting loophole. Can we have a moment of silence or something? Can we do a ceremony for it?
I'm pumped up about it. I think it's great. And you were right to say the state of Florida is better than any other state at this. This is a Vegas Golden Knights thing. This is where Florida had lost to a team. They were decimated by injuries. They got crushed by Vegas that absolutely has done this every single year. It was a point of pride, really, for Florida that they hadn't, until this year, they had already won their cup, made it to a previous one, that they hadn't used that loophole that other teams that they had been taking out along the way have been using, and I'm glad that they closed it up. Glad. Let's make it a uniform rule. Bill Zito can follow it better than anybody. Let's do it. He's already proven it twice.
No, but Chris, we need to do a ceremony. We need to put it up in the rafters or something. This is look, man, if I had to have in the Hockey Hall of Fame something from the last 10 years, an item, a lever, something that would be mechanical that I would put in the Hall of Fame, I'd have to consider this rule, given what it's done for Vegas, Tampa, and Florida over the last decade.
Mm-hmm. They're also doing some stuff to try to squash tampering, which is out of hand in that sport. I mean, people in league circles have known about Marner to Vegas for months before he hits free agency. I do have some tea as a pertains to
wait
the
a minute.
Panthers.
What ranking is this? What ranking is T versus I happen to know and I know for a fact? What is the hierarchy of Mike's reporting?
This is not firsthand information. This is me comparing notes with other information people. For whatever reason, I'm super dialed to what Carolina's doing. Expect Ehlers there. But Florida is trying to bring back those three. If you're counting on a haircut for Brad Marchand, possibly, I'm sure he can command more in an open market, but it's not that super team friendly. Florida's offering him basically what Boston offered him before he rejected that, which is a contract that I think is dead in the middle of the average annual value in the NHL. Ekblad is torn. Florida's doing what they can to put something in front of him that he'll take. I know Carolina's going to be super aggressive when it comes to Ekblad, and if he went out to the free agency market, he'd command more than he got here. We already saw with Sam Bennett. He's locked in, and that's a crazy great value. That's going to be a great contract, especially with the collective bargaining agreement that's going to see the salary cap go up and up. Florida's got a team that's going to be around for a while. These guys are in their late 20s. They're going to hang around. They're going to be they're going to have a say in the next few cups, and that's incredible. But we'll see on Brad Marchand. He's apparently torn 50-50 on whether or not to take Florida's present offer.
What do you want him to do?
If he takes it, I don't think it's a great annual value for a 37-year-old player that showed you this season signs of tailing off, and it was only until he got put on one of the best third lines in the history of the game that he resuscitated his career.
What do you want him to do?
If he comes back, I don't want him here. I don't want him here at that number, but if he comes back here, you ride with your guys and you trust the GM. That's where I'm at. I think Bill Zito's earned that. If Bill Zito says we're going to bring back these three guys and that's the move, and you're fine getting rid of guys like Evan Rodriguez, which is probably something that you're going to have to do, a guy that makes about half that annually, that has proven to you over the last two playoffs, Evan Rodriguez has had 30 points for this team. He was massive in the previous Cup win. He's a two-way player. He's on a team-friendly deal, but you're going to have to get rid of guys like that. And if you have confidence in how Brad Marchand's going to age, I think ultimately, I'd defer to the GM.
Evan Rodriguez, I want anyone who knows him who listens to this show to remind him that he owes us a shirtless visit to this show where he pretends to ride a roller coaster. He said he was going to do that if they won the championship the first time. They've since won 2 championships. He owes that to the show before he leaves the Panthers. Mike Ryan said the dishing of tea, I don't know where it is or why it is that is an expression, but the giving of tea, did that rise to the level of tea giving? Whatever it is that he's saying there, he had some tea to serve us.
Yeah.
Did it rise to the level of being worthy of the jump off of I have some tea for you?
I'm going to be honest. It was a little weak. It was a little tepid.
Weak
All right,
tea?
cool.
Yeah.
I that's what the offer is for Brad Marchand, and he's currently 50-50 on whether or not he takes it.
Okay. In Zito, we trust. And
That's stronger tea.
Listen. It's
How?
It's a crime.
That's not information.
It's a crime. No, it's just an opinion. It's a crime that Zito.
But it had more testosterone in it, so it had higher
Yeah,
tea.
thank you very much. For the 4th time in 5 years, Zito is a finalist for GM of the Year and has passed by again. What does this guy have to do? How many championships does he have to win to been the bleeping general manager of the year in hockey.
Whoa!
I tell you, there is a collusion by the voters against Bill Zito.
Whoa.
This needs to be investigated.
Okay,
by the NHL.
all right, hold on a second. Now, take that take to the highest level. Like, please, talk to a camera right now. And you seem legitimately outraged that Bill Zito is an executive of the year.
Bill Zito has been the best at doing what he does in that sport, arguably the best in all sports over the past 4 years. He keeps being nominated, and I'm half serious when I say, who are these voters? I think it's a panel of like 16 or 18 people. It's malfeasance what they're doing by not honoring this guy after a second straight Stanley Cup, after stealing Brad Marchand from Boston, after getting Seth Jones. This guy has been brilliant for the Panthers, brilliant, unlike anybody else in this market and maybe nationally. And it's a crime in that sport that he hasn't won GM of the year.
Stop being a homer, Bo.
You weren't looking at the right camera at any point during that.
Hey, let the camera look at me.
You know what?
That's high tea.
You know what? Okay. Have any of you seen A Football Life with Jimmy Johnson? Have any
Weren't
of you
you in
seen that? I was, but I had never seen it until this weekend. And I saw a story in there that I had not heard before about Jimmy Johnson and where his relationship with Jerry Jones ended. And I just did not know this. It was Barry Switzer and Larry Lacewell who were telling the story. And they were just saying, this is where this ego clash between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson ended. Why are you looking around?
You know, people in my ear are shouting and whispering. I'm
Both
trying to
of
be a
them.
professional here.
Shouting and
Go
whispering.
about
So
your
you
business.
just distracted me by looking the entire time I
distract
was
too
talking.
easily. You know, go buy some more fireworks. Amuse yourself.
I mean, it is fair. You're criticizing him for being distracted, but accusing him of distracting you.
Thank you.
What's the Jimmy Johnson point, Dano?
So Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson has a rule, and everyone knows he's got a rule. No one in the locker room right after the game. No one in the locker room right after the game. It's just me and the team. And Jerry Jones just barges in with the prince. And Jimmy Johnson is furious and doesn't want him in there. And he's like, I have a rule.
With a prince?
With a prince, yes.
Not Prince.
No, a prince. A prince.
Fielder.
I have a rule. And he tells Jerry Jones, I have a rule. And Jerry Jones's response is, I have a rule too. I own the team.
Vegas legend, Kirita.
The man is a legend, and he's a legend in Vegas where it's hard to be a legend. I've seen him. His face is ID to get into all the big places. And he's also, though, he's a Florida guy as well, and I think he should be a Panther fan because he grew up in Boca, so I don't know where he is, but I believe he's bigger than Wayne Newton now. He's more Vegas than Wayne Newton, and I'm not joking when I say comedy legend for 40 bleeping years. 40 bleeping years and still doing it 4 times a night in Vegas. You, Carrot Top, Mr. Top, are rooting for who in this series?
You can't say 40 bleeping years. It just doesn't sound cool. You know, you got to say 40 years. But, it's going to be really rough. This might be the hardest decision of my life, being from Boca. I think I performed at the Sunrise Musical Theater when I was young. But my roots, I mean, I'm in Vegas. They're listening to me right now. I'm here in Las Vegas, and it's tough. I got to be honest. I think my heart is a little more for Las Vegas.
What? No!
I know.
No!
I'm here every
You
night.
sell out. You sell out.
Are you cranking it before the game?
You mean like drugs?
No, I mean the thing where you crank it and you get everybody hyped.
Hey, are you cranking it before? Yeah, man. No,
Have you ever cranked it?
Yes, they have. That's a personal question, but yes, I have cranked it. They gave me that one twice. I've done it twice, and apparently Wayne Newton has beaten me by one crank. So
You gotta get
I was watching. I was at game 2 and I was watching.
I've got to
Wayne
catch
Newton
up on
crank it.
crank. I got to catch up on a crank.
Wayne looks great.
Wayne looks like hell. What are you talking about? Be honest.
Come on, Karen, Tom. That's not
No, I love Wayne. Seriously.
Then you can't take out the legend. What's the matter with you? But you
No,
are. You are
I
more
love Wayne.
Vegas. No, you are more Vegas than him, though. You are.
I help. No, he's Mr. Vegas. I'm Mrs. Vegas. He changed one night. We were doing a video, and it's really hot, right? I looked over, and Wayne Newton's hair was dripping. So I went over and I said, I said, I got to fix your hair. And he looked back at me and I said, it's just drip. It was like a little black,
Oh no.
guy was dripping. So at least
not natural?
fixed. No, it's natural. It's just naturally dripping. It was naturally dripping.
Wait, I want to really.
I didn't let him sit there and drip. I thought I should probably step in.
But you have seen Hollywood melt away, vanity melt away, and so you had to laugh to yourself that symbol for Vegas excess, that his hair was dripping down his face.
Yeah, I know what to do. No one else was doing it. The makeup artist was like, I'm not touching it. I'm like, someone fix Wayne Newton's hair, for God's sake. So I took over the.
I mean, you don't hate the Panthers though, because they keep getting
no,
but their fans
I love the
keep
Panthers. Love the Panthers. Great Americans. No, I love. I don't know why I'm doing my Trump impression is the worst in the world, but I just go into it when you need to.
I think it's pretty good.
Oh, is it? Is it pretty good?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I was telling Sasha Michelle Malia that Carrot Top does a really good Donald Trump.
Always been a fan of you, Bob. Always been a fan.
I wish we could say the same.
Big bet. Oh, come on.
And now, the Looks Like game with Tim Kurkjian.
Does Joe Madden look like your grandma's new boyfriend? Does Kyle Schwarber look like the kid in your 4th grade class who can burp the alphabet? Does Bartolo Colon look like Andre the Giant when he was in 3rd grade? Does Bryce Harper look like the guy who married Hunter Pence's wife while Hunter Pence was lost at sea?
Does Mel Kiper look like the fatherly protective eagle? Does Adnan Brooke look like the agent who, after 007 has been felled, removes his mask, extends a hand, and says graciously, "Welcome to Tangier, Mr. Bond"?
Does Paul Skeens look like the up-and-coming country singer who just had to publicly apologize after old tweets resurfaced? Or does he look like the small-town cop who looks the other way when local college kids buy beer from the corner store, as long as they bring him his favorite candy bar, a Snickers, a Mountain Dew, and a copy of that day's paper when they leave? Does Adam Schefter look like the scientist in a white lab coat on a gasoline commercial? Or does he look more like the squeamish veterinarian from a Wild West movie who audibly gulps when a weapon is placed in his hand? Does Adam Silver look like a decorative caviar spoon? Does he look like a small town's water tower? Does he look like he administers truth serum?
Look at him.
Does he look like a library reference desk clerk who moonlights as the lead singer of a Devo cover band? Does he look like the mentally unbalanced Russian nuclear scientist with no spoken lines in a Sylvester Stallone movie?
He looks like a lone French fry in a bag of onion rings. Oh, it's so bad. I can't believe you do that to this guy.
Does he look like a tire pressure gauge? Does he look like a nurse at an old folks home? A dissipating smoke from a blown out birthday candle? A teed up golf ball? Does Adam Silver look like a generic proctologist on a community college pamphlet for Crohn's disease? Does Adam Silver look like Dracula's vampire accountant named Calcula? Does he look like an unusually long middle toe? Does he look like Bob Barker's microphone? Does he look like a xylophone mallet? Does Adam Silver look like Scott Van Pelt 15 seconds after opening the Ark of the Covenant?
Oh, my God.
Greg, who are you railing against, particularly when you yell about Bill Zito's omission as Executive of the Year? Do you know who you're railing against? Do you know who the voting committee is on this?
I do not.
Okay, because the Executive of the Year, it's known as the Jim Gregory General Manager of the Year Award. It's 42-member panel, 32 GMs.
Okay.
5 NHL executives, and 5 print or broadcast media members.
And Roy.
Journalist Roy.
So that's the group, though. It's 42.
Right.
So who are you what are you railing against? The GMs are the ones who are telling you that's the vote.
Okay.
They're the majority of the voters.
Okay, there's something fishy here. If I'm speaking to those 42 voters right now, I am saying, why not the two-time champion who has swung this deal and that deal and this deal and that deal and the Tkachuk trade, one of the greatest in the history of the league? What exactly are you looking for in that trophy that Bill Zito hasn't earned? I want them to explain their decision-making. That's all.
I think if you, I'm backing up my dad here. If you put all the GMs in a room and you just say, I know it's a yearly award, the last 2 years, team you would like to be, team that seems to be put together the best. I mean, isn't it obvious? Like, it's crazy. It's not like they're a Cinderella. Like, this team, everyone acknowledges, like, is just the depth, every position. They're not weak anywhere.
So the Stars GM has won it 3 years in a row?
3 years in a row where they've lost in the conference finals every season.
All right, so this is what I wanted to ask you guys within the context of this, because I saw that last week, and I didn't want to just skip right past it, that Masai Ujiri was out with the Raptors, and this was a person who I knew to be good at his job. He won a championship in Toronto. He made the right moves that allowed him to get the right players. This was someone who's talented at his job. But the thing that I wanted to present to the audience, because these things expire fast, right? That genius is now gone. There was a time Ujiri could have had just about any architecture plan he wanted because he was such a hot executive. He won in Toronto. How the hell did they win a basketball championship in Toronto? All of that goodwill is gone because the Raptors haven't been relevant recently. And the thing that I wanted to ask you guys about what we're asking these GMs to be in the modern age when they keep up with evolution. I saw over the weekend that Andre Drummond opted in with the Sixers for $5 million. It is a small contract. Very few people will care about it. Today's big on free agency, and the free agency thing is kind of dead in basketball. Julius Randle and everyone else is signing with their own teams. The LeBron thing is interesting. We'll get to it in a second. But Andre Drummond, what I wanted to say about him is, at one time in my life when that man was 20 years old, and I'm assuming Stan Van Gundy said, I'd like that as the centerpiece for how I play basketball for the rest of my life. I'd like a 20-year-old that size who's going to offensive rebound better than anyone and dunk a lot. And the whole game changed as soon as he got into the league. And so what you're asking these GMs to do is not merely win and be competitive, but it's also stay ahead of the entirety of the curve, because Ujiri won it one way, and then its super teams came back and won it again, and now we're back to, it's not really a super team as what it has to be. It now looks a little bit more like what Ujiri built in Toronto. And so when I ask you the assessments right now of that guy won a championship in Toronto. You can credit Kawhi Leonard if you want, but we all discovered Pascal Siakam at the same time during those playoffs. Ujiri's reputation was solid as the young executive who knows what he's doing, and now he's fired, and I assume he'll get another job. I assume he's still respected, but what did he buy himself with that championship if a few years later winning a championship in Toronto gets you fired?
I don't get that move at all. And I implore the audience to go check out that 2019 Raptors roster, because at the time it felt like, this is a funky little outlier that took advantage of some Golden State injuries. That team would still be in the conversation right now. They were friggin' loaded, and they were at the very start of this new way of roster construction in the NBA. He did it in Denver. He did it in Toronto. Toronto was feisty. They seem to be... I would certainly continue handing over the keys to Masai Ujiri and say, we trust you in this NBA. You've done it once before. I don't really get the move. There has to be more to it.
Does there? Because I believe the lifespan on these things. So far, we've got fishy over here. We've got fishy on Bill Zito. What's the accusation exactly when you call something fishy? You've done no reporting on this. You didn't even know who you were railing against, and yet you called it fishy. It seems like the easiest of conspiracy theories. It seems not very journalistic of you.
It's a small voting panel. I thought it was 16 or 18. It turns out to be 42. What's fishy is that it's very apparent that Bill Zito should have won the award at one point over the last 2 seasons. Now, it should be a quantifiable award. I'm not saying it has to go to the GM of the Stanley Cup champion every year, but that's a pretty good starting
Do you understand
spot.
what I'm saying? If you're making an accusation of fishy, I need to know what it is that you're saying, because you're saying that something is suspect, it's corrupt, that there's a reason.
It's a bad decision.
No, but fishy's different than that. Fishy's a purposely bad decision.
Well, I don't understand the logic. Okay, I get why he did it last year. He had a really deep team. He makes it to the conference finals. This year, it ended in embarrassment. He ends up firing the head coach. This is an award that is handed out during the NHL draft. It actually looks like Dallas has to rework their roster a little bit. So I'm very confused as to why there has to be more to it than just on-ice success. I don't get it.
Forgive me for spending this much of the show today without addressing the most serious of things that needed to be addressed, which is that Greg Cody and his son Chris are trying to create a lane no one in sports media has ever dared to tackle before on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody. I believe they are alone in this lane. There are no other occupants historically in grandpa against granddaughter in the Greg Cody Show Family Olympics.
7 versus 70.
I have been told that we have swimming video of Greg Cody laboriously swimming across a very shallow and small pool at a very slow rate of speed, less swimming than surviving.
Wearing goggles,
and now at the end seemingly just walking.
I'm sorry, do they not wear goggles in the Olympics? I don't understand that
Billy.
criticism.
Thank you.
We're not putting in the sound here because we don't want to give away who's winning. This is the finish to a big race. Who had the better time, the 7-year-old or the 70-year-old?
I have been in that pool. That's the shallow end. At the end, Greg is simply walking. He is no longer
the start of it,
swimming.
he runs 4 steps before he starts swimming.
Not really. I pushed off like the Olympians do.
I have a question for you, Greg, and I haven't listened yet. It's early. I haven't listened. I'm usually like a Tuesday consumer of the Greg Cody show.
Billy, in fairness to you, we're teasing this episode, which comes out next week.
Okay, good.
The current episode is something whole different.
We have a hitchhiker and a bacon expert on this week.
Yeah.
Wait, your daughter's picking up hitchhikers?
No. It's just me and my dad talking to a hitchhiker who's hitchhiked over 250,000 miles in his life.
68-year-old man.
you're trying to bring back the hitchhiker, which you pointed out among many other, problematic things with the hitchhiker is the murder rate climbed with hitchhiking, and then hitchhiking fell out of favor. You explained to us last week. Now you're just continuing the thread on the tapestry that is the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody by bringing on a noted hitchhiker and also a bacon expert, because you left here with a truly breathtaking amount of bacon last week.
Know.
It's more bacon than I've ever seen a single human being go or leave a place with.
Yeah, I can't eat it fast enough.
No, you said you'd eat it all. I'm like, you will never eat all of that bacon. It's not possible. You will die before you eat all of that bacon.
Yeah, not necessarily, but we have a bacon salesman from Minnesota, a mail carrier from Queens, New York, and a 68-year-old world globe-trotting hitchhiker on the current episode of the Greg Cody Show podcast.
But then next week is the big one.
Yeah, but today's is very much an experimental podcast. We're going to see how it does. We get to know 3 of our biggest show fans who all have interesting stories to tell.
I was going to ask, why the mail carrier? The bacon we kind of set up. The hitchhiker the mail carrier just seems a little out of the.
It's interesting. I mean, everyone here gets mail. Deals with mail. Yeah. We ask them. We get into the nuts and bolts of, the ugly parts, the pretty parts of being a mail carrier.
Right. What should people never say to a mail carrier? Is the carrier versus dog real or imagined? Do you judge people by the mail you're delivering to them? Stuff like that.
At which point he's like, I don't snoop in their mail.
That's what you got to say, though. If you're a mail carrier, that's what you got to say.
Yeah. Come on now.
It won't surprise you guys at all, right, that I've probably gone more than 10 years without getting a piece of mail in
That's
my
not
hands.
True. Really? It's impossible.
No, it's not. In terms of that gets through my wife and it stops before. I haven't gone to a mailbox. I haven't seen a piece of mail in more than 10 years. Wow. I'm not even joking.
And yet you buy explosives.
It is odd. It is odd. I mean, maybe it's just been a setup, Greg. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen mail in 10 years, but I have all these explosives.
Yeah, just make sure you don't put the
I've never been at the post
there.
office, but I like to go to the bank.
This guy.
It's odd. Yeah, something's up here. Keep an eye on
Fishy.
him, FBI.
Fishy, maybe. Fishy,
Yes,
some might
So
say.
we buried the lead. We also have my dad climbing a rock here.
No, I'm not.
Really?
I'm going to get there. Hold
Oh,
on
you're
a
gonna-
second.
Wow.
I'm
Slow
getting
burn?
there.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm getting there the slow route. This is the big payoff. I'm not in a big hurry to get to your dad rock climbing. Now we've teased it properly, but
I also have him running with an egg in a spoon.
Look
But
at
let
my
him set
height
it up.
advantage there. I'm going to dominate, or will
just
I?
great executive producing all around.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
Pace ourselves.
We've got a whole Olympics in front of us, and the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody requires promotion.
Now, Greg, I don't want to cast doubt or question onto your 7 versus 7D Olympics. You guys, I will say, love the Olympics. You guys are constantly having competitions against each other
Every summer.
It seems like it's a thing you guys do a lot. Now,
She's going to win when it's 8 against 80.
well, here's my question. I hope you didn't give any spoilers there.
Seriously.
Here's the question, though, because a lot of grandpappies, they let the granddaughters win. Is this something that we as the listeners should be concerned about? You maybe throwing it to build up Lil Graceland's confidence? Like you let her win some of these competitions to keep things competitive?
If only that's how it went.
I want some integrity in these 7 versus 70.
I think it's a very fair question that Billy asks, and I can honestly say, no, I'm going to crush her if I can.
All right.
Okay?
That's what I want to hear.
I'm going to be honest, because I don't believe in coddling someone and saying, oh, here's a consolation ribbon, a participation ribbon. No, if she can't climb a rock wall faster than Pop.
It's not a rock wall. It's at a play place.
She doesn't deserve to
All
win.
right, but let's and forgive me. I'm sure I'll be hearing from my math friends that it can't be 8 against 80 if it's 7 against 70.
I was going to let you slide on that.
But let's play this aforementioned rock climbing, please, where you guys can see both the dramatic tension of Greg trying to indeed kick his
Kick her ass,
granddaughter's
Greg.
ass.
Yeah.
No, he
but
gets off to a
watch.
good start.
No,
Watch
but
what happens.
Wow, no shoes.
Yeah,
They make you wear these
No,
socks.
those are professional
No!
rock climbing socks.
No, the pulling ahead despite the hot start.
Yes, Grandpa's getting left behind. I also saw a video of how tired Grandpa is, but we've got to cut this video first. We got to cut it so that
now, all right,
he's climbing the wrong direction.
he's finished.
We didn't want
He's
you guys
on
to
the
see
way
who
down.
won, so we're cutting to the end. He watches her
smart.
go down. Look
Yes.
at, watch him
Now
here.
watch Greg here. Oh! Yes, and we all got very scared. That would have been a 70-year-old falling on his head.
For the audio audience, my dad sees my daughter do the classic push off the wall and fall down nicely, and he you see him like a child look at her like, ooh, she's doing
that's
that.
tight right there. That's tight in the groin.
tight.
That's tight in the groin. Everybody,
Hey,
look
good for
out,
you.
everybody. Look out, everybody. That's unpleasant. We don't want that.
No, good for him.
Why
though.
are we doing this?
Nope, let's not do this.
Looks like you got a massive hammer there,
Nope,
Greg.
let's not do this.
I'm glad you guys cut out the ending of that race. I had no idea how it ended.
There's also a time on the wall, so you could see exactly. who
Greg
did it
was
faster.
unbelievably winded. At the end of that, I saw
Quit showing that.
At the end of that, I saw a wheezing Greg Cody. Going back to the point that I was making earlier, though.
Hell yeah, Greg.
If I told you guys Andre Drummond as a 20-year-old, would you like to lock up all the things that he is for the next 15 years of basketball?
You also famously took Dwight Howard to start your franchise over LeBron.
Yeah. Speaking of LeBron, yes, because I didn't.
that one.
And he wanted Odin over KD.
Yes.
He was.
What?
Dan
I
was
didn't
it.
see it coming.
Dan didn't. No one. Very few people did.
Hibbert over Duncan.
Joe Cronin should have probably seen it with Ayton.
Hibbert over Duncan. I forgot about that one. Jesus Christ.
No, that was
terms of
just
that's just
that was
stopping
just one
LeBron.
series.
Duncan
That's just-
Robinson
that's-
over Kevin Durant.
That was.
Oh no, that's Pat Riley. Sorry.
When you look back at the career of Andre Drummond, he ends up being just another guy who made a lot of money and will be one of the best offensive rebounders ever. And the whole sport changed around him very rapidly. And at the end of his career, he's signing a one-year, $5 million deal, which makes him a below-league average talent that he's opting into a contract on. Are you guys going to be disappointed that there isn't going to be much in the transaction realm today? But the one transaction that is or was interesting is LeBron opting back in at that age for $53 million and then immediately declaring through his agent that the Lakers are on notice. They should be building for the future, but LeBron wants to win now. When LeBron just opted into that contract and has a no-trade clause, which is a weird public pressure to put on the Lakers when you're beginning right now to have all the power at the end of your career. Only you and Bradley Beal have a no-trade clause. It was such a weird thing to see LeBron opt in and then immediately have Rich Paul put pressure on the Lakers when he's got the no-trade clause. The Lakers don't have any power here.
Exactly. It gives him more power to get to wherever he ultimately wants to go, whether that's Cleveland or somewhere else. Teams that don't have salary cap flexibility right now are in the game for LeBron James.
But there are going to be very few teams that end up trading for 1 year of $50 million of LeBron, right? Like that's not – Bobby Mark says there is no trade market for LeBron on that front, which is a bit surprising.
Would you trade Tyler Hero for him? I would.
I can't believe that there's no trade market for
I would.
him.
I would do that deal.
I would do that.
Heartbeat.
Yeah, there will be.
1 year of LeBron James for Tyler Hero? Yes. Where do I sign?
Is there no trade market because no one's even going to bother asking because they know LeBron's going to have to decide to come
dictate where he wants.
Like you think Orlando's going to bother calling to be like, oh, does LeBron want to come to the Magic?
That's a complicated contract to bring on for a contender. It's not the easiest trade in the world to make. They can figure it out, but
it's basketball. They always figure it out. Those numbers seem to mean nothing. Like the salary cap seems so easy to skirt in the NBA because they always find the way. If they want it to happen, it always happens somehow.
I wanted to bring in Mike Florio here because a story from last week. I want to continue to put it in front of you. And Florio is not just someone who's great at the football information. He's also got a legal background that allows him to parse through some issues that the rest of the media is very good at avoiding. So, Mike, thank you for joining us. I wanted you just to help walk me through what the Pablo Torre finds out story was in reality and why it didn't reverberate the way that I thought it should reverberate, why that story didn't have the legs that I thought it had. And thank you for joining us, by the way.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me. Great to talk to you again. This all started back really a few years ago when DeMaurice Smith, the former NFLPA executive director, was on one of our shows, either PFT Live or PFTPM, and he said that a collusion grievance was coming on the issue of fully guaranteed contracts for certain quarterbacks. And within weeks after that, they filed it. This was October-ish of 2022. The case proceeded from there, and I did my best to monitor it. While these things are going on, everyone is subject to a confidentiality order, and they don't talk much about it. But we knew what was happening generally. We knew when the hearing happened. We knew the ruling was coming. And then when the ruling came, January 15 of this past year, January 14 to be more specific, no one said anything. The ruling came, and that was it. Who won? Who lost? Nobody would talk about it. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, why would this ruling not come out? Well, it's confidential. No, the ruling's not confidential. The process is, the ruling isn't. You can talk about it. Why is nobody talking about it? So I started banging that drum back in late January, early February. And, you know, the NFL always has a bright, shiny object that can distract us, and things can easily be ignored and overlooked and forgotten. And Michael Hawley and I were doing an episode of PFT Live right around Memorial Day, and I remembered that this is still out there. And I became determined, entering the slow time with no bright, shiny objects to distract me, I got to get this thing out there. So I was determined to do it, and Pablo and I were talking about other things as Belichick coverage, because I, like him, believe that it's something that is a bigger deal than many would say who were trying to shout it all down. So we got to know each other that way. We developed a friendly competition. Let's see who gets it first. He got it. And it was amazing because at the end of the day, the NFL was caught with its hand in the collusion cookie jar. The arbitrator gave them a pass. I think the arbitrator got it wrong, but they were caught red-handed telling teams to collude when it comes to the issue of guaranteed money in contracts, specifically quarterback contracts. And I think it's a big deal, but the NFL doesn't want people to talk about it. The union buried the thing for reasons that still aren't obvious, because the union should be using it as a hammer. So that's it in a nutshell. The NFL rarely gets caught doing anything it shouldn't be doing. It got caught colluding, and no one wants to talk about it. Even now, 6 days later, I can't get people to talk about it, mainly because people fear reprisals.
Why is it that you and Pablo think it's a big deal and other people don't seem to?
Well, I mean, you always have a bias that your reporting is important when it's the result of the work that you put in. I understand that. But I think the fact that this group of multi-billion-dollar businesses that are supposed to be operating independently, they have limited antitrust exemptions that allow them to come together from time to time. Beyond that, they're not allowed to come together. And it's been suspected for years when they get together 4 times a year, every 3 months or so, and March is the big annual meeting, it's been suspected that they do collude. They do compare notes. They just usually are cleaner about it. This time they got sloppy. This time there was a paper trail. This time there was circumstantial evidence of both a direction to collude and actual collusion. And it made it fascinating because we finally were able to show this is exactly what's going on. And Dan, like in so many other situations, the cover-up is worse than the crime. And the failure of the NFLPA, this is the most fascinating aspect of it to me, because this thing should have become a cudgel in multiple different ways and forms and fashions to try to give the union some leverage against the league. They put the thing in a vault and locked it and won't talk about it. And both sides, they wouldn't let anybody read it. They didn't distribute the thing. It was like it never even happened. So what becomes far more compelling, I think, for Pablo and for me is the idea that once this thing hit, both sides have worked so hard to keep it a secret.
Do you have any hypotheticals there that we can get to on why it is that the union wouldn't want any of this seen? But before I get to that question, is there anything behind you in what seems like a really lovely kitchen that has any meaning to you? Is there any glass back there or anything behind you that would be something that you're attached to?
No, it's just what's behind me. And this is actually, and I'm not trying to flex, I'm just answering your question. This is the wine cellar in the house that we bought that we keep no wine in. But the guy we bought the house from owned 2 businesses, a pool company and a winery. So he's got a really nice pool and a really nice wine cellar. and I just happen to have a router on the wall next to me. So it gives me uninterrupted, full service. The guys from Pardon My Take like to say I'm in an Olive Garden restaurant, but what's behind me is what my wife has deemed suitable to be behind me when I do these.
Mike, are those granite or marble countertops? Because they're absolutely splendid.
They are marble. They are
Okay,
marble.
That's a good choice by you. I want to ask you this question. From a legal standpoint, had the independent arbiter ruled in favor of the players' union and against the NFL, what would have been the ramification?
Well, that's a great question because we don't know how the damages would have been calculated because the damages for what started as 3 quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson, eventually expanded to include 594 other players who didn't get fully guaranteed contracts. The argument is, after the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract, the league decided we have to stop this. We have to get the teams to not do this. So they turned off the faucet. So every player who didn't get a fully guaranteed contract was in this group. But you'd have to almost figure out player by player how much money they lost by not having a fully guaranteed contract. Because what happens with these contracts, once you get through the first year or two, the team has the ability to tear it up and move on whenever it wants. How many guys had their contracts torn up? How many guys didn't? So I think it would have been a very complicated process for determining damages. But when you have that many players, it easily could have become a very, very large number. And you mentioned independent arbitrator. That's an important point here because it really isn't independent like a court. The arbitrator is selected by both the union and the league, and either side can pull the plug on the assignment at the end of the current term, whenever they want. And I think there's a political analysis that any arbitrator in that kind of a setting has to do when, as in this case, he was expected. The argument was that the owners were claiming they don't collude, but the circumstantial evidence proved otherwise. You're basically finding that multiple NFL owners aren't telling the truth when they say we didn't collude because the circumstantial evidence proved otherwise. And I think that made it hard from a political standpoint for the arbitrator to come to that conclusion because I just think he got it wrong. I think not only was there an attempt by the league to collude, the owners did collude, and that's why the league ultimately won. The arbitrator wasn't willing to go that far and say they did collude.
What a fart noise for you and Pablo, though, for you guys to be here being like, the arbiter got it wrong. You get the 61-page report, the arbiter's sitting there proving all the things that you want proven, and then at the end he rules. Never. It's just, it's really, you're like reading it and you're like, oh, this is damning, this is damning, this is damning. Oh, the arbiter got the whole thing wrong. Like that. What is that?
He twists himself into knots to dismiss the best evidence of collusion in action. And I practice law. You never get people on the witness stand admitting that they ordered the code red. You've got to thread the needle with circumstantial evidence and then argue to a jury that what the person said on the witness stand isn't true. And there was so much in there. If this would have gone in front of a jury, I'm confident the NFL would have lost. It's one of the reasons why big companies don't want to have to answer to juries. There's something about the collective wisdom of a jury of average people that can sniff through bullcrap and come to compelling conclusions. That's what this needed, not an arbitrator, but a jury that would have quickly found that the NFL was indeed colluding.
This is what I'm going to do with Florio now. I'm going to give you a second here to gather your thoughts on this. You have read the report now at least 2 times, 61-page report. I'd ask you to think what you think the most interesting or damning or offensive details are in there, if there are 3, if there are 2, if there are 4 or 5, and produce for me a top 5 list or a top 3 list in descending order or in ascending order of what is the most interesting fact in that report. Are you ready to do this?
I can do that. I can give you 3.
All right, let's go.
3?
Yes, let's start with number 3, the bronze medalist.
Well, the bronze medalist is footnote 25, which explains away J.C. Tretter's pejorative criticisms of Russell Wilson because Tretter was the NFLPA president at the time. He had some choice things to say about Russell Wilson when he didn't hold the rope in this game of tug of war to try to make the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract spread to others. Because if it had spread to others, maybe the new status quo would have been everybody gets fully guaranteed contracts. So Tretter didn't like that. He said some mean things about Wilson. And the thinking is one of the big reasons this thing got buried was to protect Tretter and his aspirations to become the NFLPA executive director at some point.
All right,
so
your timing was bad on that, Cody, but I don't blame you. We're gonna coach Mike Florio up a little more on this game. It's not your fault. It's okay.
What did I do?
No, it's okay. We just sort of need number 3, and you need to give us like a tight sentence, and then he hits the fanfare, and then you explain it. You couldn't have known. You're a novice to the game.
Sorry.
That's okay. I blame Cody, but it's all right. Number 3.
Okay. So number 3, footnote 25, which shows that J.C. Treader had reason to keep this thing quiet.
That's how you do it. There it is. All right.
You can be taught.
All right. Number 2.
Second chances.
All right.
Number 2.
Number 2, former Walmart CEO Greg Penner giving a crap about his competition.
Bang.
Do you want more details?
Yes, that's where you elaborate.
Okay.
Yes, you'll get.
All right,
on the last
well
one,
done.
you're really going to nail this. I feel like we're going to dismount perfectly.
So the discovery process that preceded the hearing in this case found internal communications, emails, texts, etc., where Greg Penner, the former Walmart CEO, who was running the Broncos post-August of 2022 and was there when they were doing the Russell Wilson contract, he was informing his other owners, the other partners in the ownership of the Broncos, about the Wilson deal and making comments along the lines of other owners will like this. And the first thing I thought was, this guy was the CEO of Walmart. Do you think there are any emails within Walmart when he was the CEO that had comments like, Target will really like this? And it is absolute proof that these businesses that are supposed to be in competition are in coordination, which is another way of saying in collusion. You should never care whether your business decisions will help a competitor. If anything, you want your business decisions to hurt a competitor. You want the thing that you do that is right for you to be wrong for your competitor, and your competitor to be forced to pick a bad lane. So that to me was so damning, because in any other business, you are never going to think how much this might help one of your competitors.
Number 1, according to Mike Florio, Pablo Torre finds out is the name of the podcast. This reporting was very strong. This episode, as most with Pablo are, was very strong. Number 1, Mike Florio.
Well, and it would come from the table read that Pablo and I did of the text message exchange between Chargers owner Dean Spanos and Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell. In that exchange,
yes,
Spanos congratulated Bidwell on managing to hold the rope and have a non-fully guaranteed contract for quarterback Kyler Murray. Along the way, Bidwell said, we fought hard to not have a fully guaranteed deal. There were comments made about the ridiculous deal that Cleveland did with Deshaun Watson. And Spanos, with the comment that should have Justin Herbert, the Chargers quarterback, up in arms, this helps us with our quarterback. And Herbert would be, now again, nobody's talking about this, nobody's saying anything about it, but Herbert would be the prime guy to stand up and say, hey, this collusion affected me because my owner was trying to work with the owner of another team to make sure he wouldn't have to give me a fully guaranteed contract. That, to me, there were two smoking guns. One from the league's perspective, where they're reduced to writing their communications about their desire to tell the owners to pull back on guaranteed contracts. From the owner's perspective, the Spanos-Bidwell exchange, it just shows, even though the arbitrator got it wrong, it shows that they were coordinating and necessarily colluding.
Florio, I just hate that you and Pablo can't get this thing off the ground because you have to keep saying some form of, even though the arbitrator got it wrong.
I know, and he did, but that's the thing. I don't understand why. So, now, I must have done 15 radio and podcast appearances last week that I ordinarily wouldn't have done. So some folks get it, but the people who are in position to advance the ball, and think about it, there is an army of reporters who devote their professional time to covering the NFL. And when a story like this comes along, there are ways to advance it. You get comments from players, you get comments from agents, you get different angles. You talk to an expert if need be to tell you what this all means. How many stories do we see where there are quotes from a professor from NYU or this guy or that guy talking about what this all means? there has been no effort by anyone to push this thing forward. So the hope is, by the league and the union, that it dies on the vine. And I know I've been doing everything I can to keep it alive, and I'm glad you're still talking about it, because a weekend in the summer can be a hard reset. And I'm appreciative that you didn't treat it like that and you're still on it.
PFT Live airs weekdays on Peacock, NBC Sports Now channel, and NBC Sports Radio. Before we let you go, name them. Who needs to chase this story down? Name them. Who needs to be the one putting the work in to chase down the last parts of this story? Go ask Herbert, hey, how much money did this cost you? Ask Herbert's agent, are you aware that they colluded in a way that affected your guaranteed money?
Well, anyone and everyone who covers the NFL on a national basis, all of the insiders who specialize in telling us what's going to be announced 5 minutes before it does, but never finds out anything they don't want us to know, they should all be on it. They won't be. Anybody who covers the various teams that are implicated in this, anybody that covers the Cardinals, the Ravens, the Broncos, the Browns, and the Chargers should be trying to push this forward with comments that would either give extra color and flavor to what was going on or push this thing forward. And no one wants to bother. Whether it's because they don't understand the story, they don't want to understand the story, they don't want to step into a bear trap and affect their own careers. I think it's a cocktail of reasons that are causing most of the people in this business to just keep their heads low and their mouths shut.
Well said. Let's stop beating around the bush, though. Is Mike McDaniel on the hot seat?
Yeah. Well, he should be. It all comes down to what Stephen Ross is going to do. And he's 85. I remember when Leon Hess, when he was 80, fired Pete Carroll and said, basically, I don't have much time left. I'm trying to win. I don't know what Ross is going to do, but when I went through a list last week of who I think should be on the hot seat, I would say McDaniel's getting there. It's year 4. We're hearing about culture change every year. When you start having an annual conversation about culture change, that gets you closer and closer to coaching change. And when they fired Brian Flores, who was the Bill Belichick hard ass, they overcorrected. We see that all the time. You fire a coach, you get the exact opposite. And I think they went too far the other way. The guy's too nice. He's too much of a player coach. And that's starting to come back to bite them, and I could see them trying to go the other way. Maybe they'll overcorrect again.
Hey, no, stop interrupting the man.
We wasted his time.
No, we didn't. That's sprinklers and Liev Schreiber right there. Get me back to football.
First 15 minutes we wasted his time.
That's what I'm saying. We wasted his time for 15 minutes because we threw it into the wheelhouse of hot seat, and all of a sudden Florio's galloping like it's playoff
He put
time.
together an entire list. What's the rest of that list look like?
Tell
Real
me.
quick.
Say it slowly.
Do it in the cadence of a sprinkler at the start of HBO's Hard Knocks.
Yeah. I got Mike McDaniel. I got Brian Dabol.
Oh, yeah.
Shane Steichen.
A little slower.
Hot seat.
Brian Callahan.
Nice.
Hot seat.
Romantic voice, please.
Dave Canales.
Hot seat.
I'm close.
Already.
Lewis, dim the lights.
Mike Tomlin. Not Tomlin.
What?
Not Tomlin.
Oh,
Never
wait.
gonna
Whoa.
fire Tomlin.
Hey.
What?
Fake out.
Everybody wants Tomlin to be on the hot seat except Art Rooney. They're never going to fire Mike Tomlin. Ever.
See you,
McDermott.
See
what
you
are we
later,
thinking?
Florio. Good seeing you.
Thanks, guys.
to 2-0. I mean, it's really this town's going crazy, as you know.
And they're getting
and
in the way.
Florida's probably going crazy too. Oh yeah. Are they talking that already?
Have you ever been to the arena? Because it's kind of where you went to community college. It's like in the Everglades.
I was curious as to where it was because I said I lived in Florida my entire life. I don't think I've been to that area very often. When I went to Boca, I was in Boca. I guess it's not too far from there.
It's right next to Sawgrass Mills. You ever been to Sawgrass Mills?
Sawgrass Mills, man, it's been a while. But they apparently have a hockey team down there, so that's good.
This is a good show.
How do we get Gustav Forsling going?
What's that?
How do we get Brandon Montour going?
Yeah, like anything else, they're going to have to get these guys motivated, and that's what they did in the last game. I mean, I think it's just like watching the basketball game last night. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but that series is unbelievable. How close the first, second, third games have been by one like motivating thing, one factor that all comes in. Same as the Knights, they came in really motivated. Now I think we'll see what happens down in
Do you think
Florida.
Game 3 was rigged though? Because we have some
Game rigged?
Yeah, like the officials rigged it.
Rigged.
You mean the basketball game last night?
Yeah, very clearly.
Oh, everything's rigged in sports.
thank
Yeah,
you.
the whole thing was rigged.
Guys, what are we doing?
He knows what he's talking about. Does when Wayne Newton speaks to you, do his teeth
When Wayne-
whistle?
He doesn't. Yes.
They look like they whistle.
He said yes. He said yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say. He never speaks. What am I talking? He never speaks to me. What are you crazy? He's never spoken to me. There's no eye contact. No eye contact.
I got to be honest, though. It seems to us, honestly, and I don't know if the Vegas has gotten to you, the vanity.
Teeth whistle. Yeah. That's the ref. They just look at Wayne.
Jay Leno and Noise Letterman with a sandwich for laughs.
So honestly, thrilled to be doing this with you because I have admired your work. You are just such a sculptor. You're an artist as a comedian. It's sort of the
Why? Thank you.
well,
Thank you.
the craft of it. It's such a hard way to make a living, Jay. I don't even understand how you make a living that way. I really don't. You have to be demented to choose. You know what? I'm going to laugh my way to the top. I'm going to take the expectation of funny, and that's how I'm going to get rich. Get out of here. It's crazy.
It seems sort of second nature to me. I think it's one of those things. If it's what you like to do, it just comes. I remember when I was in college, I'm dyslexic, so I would get out of any sort of written things, and I was taking speech therapy. And I remember the professor said, now at the end of the class, each student will have to give a 20-minute talk. And people went, 20 minutes? Oh, my God, I get done. I thought, I'll do it right now. I'll talk for 20 minutes. Yeah, let's do this, So it just struck me as funny.
But you could be funny in an instant? You knew that this was something...
No, not funny. I had to give a 20-minute talk. I mean, I didn't have routine. I wasn't a comedian yet, but it just seemed natural. I mean, I always read that getting eaten by a shark and public speaking are the two things most people are afraid, that kind of stuff.
But not you, right? Like that, you didn't need attention, right? An audience just didn't scare you, right? Even though you were dyslexic, even though...
No, it didn't scare me. You know what's interesting? A lot of people don't realize, you remember the Smothers Brothers, right?
Yes.
Well, Tommy Smothers was dyslexic, and they were folk singers, but Tommy would get the songs wrong. Michael, boat the row is short. No, it's row the what? And they made it part of their act. And that's kind of how they became a sort of funny comedy singing team,
How do you watch stand-up comics? Because I imagine you are watching not just to laugh, but to see where the comic's insecure, where the comic looks off stage or looks at his feet. I imagine...
No, not really. I watch it just to enjoy it. I like comedy. I enjoy watching comedians. You have to be careful when you're a comedian because someone does a joke and then you realize you never want to be on stage and that subject comes up and your mind immediately goes to that person. So you have to be careful not to try and take somebody else's material. That's sort of the biggest trick. A lot of times you don't want to watch comedians do routine on a particular subject because if you're developing something along the same line, now you can't do yours because it's too close to theirs or whatever it might be. But no, I watch it. It's like I like to make love, but I don't want to be a gynecologist. You know what I mean? So I enjoy it just being, just being around it and being with comics. It's always fun.
You came up through the...
Game Time's coming through big for the FIFA Club World Cup. I've used them several times already, and we got a gigantic matchup coming to town tomorrow night. Two Titans, Juventus and Real Madrid. Right now, Game Time's got a 10% off exclusive zone deal package that they've trotted out there. Yeah, really good seats for the World Cup matchups. You're talking world-class teams, high stakes, now less money out of your pocket. Game Time, last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It is my sincere hope that Game Time is going to be this effective come next year when the World Cup is there and it meets a hell of a lot more demand, because it has been a lifesaver, saved a lot of money so far, seen marquee matchups, and a typical mild summer so far for South Florida.
I am interested in talking to both you and Greg Cody about Inter Miami and reaching the final 16 and what should be the shame or no shame in losing to Paris Saint-Germain 4-0 if you're Lionel Messi. But before I do that, I wanted to do a couple of other things and ask you, among them, when I say that Malik Beasley was about to have a 3-year, $42 million contract, and now those talks have come to a halt because the NBA is cooperating with federal prosecutors' investigation that Beasley may have been gambling on prop bets in his games, I don't want to get so numb to this that we only yell about it when it's Ohtani's interpreter and it's close to Ohtani, but then it's not the crime we're talking about or the alleged crime, but who is the criminal on how scandalous these things should be. These should be scandalous stories every time you hear about them, no matter how normalized gambling is and no matter how much sports has had its integrity impugned by an assortment of different people with everything from immoralities to illegalities. I'm asking you, what's the name I have to put in front of you? Because it ain't Malik Beasley. What's the name I have to put in front of you to make one of these go right to the front of all your screens because you realize this has gotten to one of the players it can't get to? Because we haven't had any seismic stuff happen except when there was the sniff of it around Ohtani.
Probably a quarterback or a true superstar. I think that's probably how more people pay attention to it. Look, before gambling was legalized in states, we had a massive Tim Donaghy scandal that should honestly couch any discussion we've ever had when we discuss, is this rigged in the NBA? And you have tons of people that were aligned with Tim Donaghy that had incriminating text messages at the time that are still officiating in that league, and we just move on past it. If anything, the legalization of gambling in all these states has allowed these gambling partners to share more data with their league partners and point out things like, hey, there's a bunch of sharp action right now on Malik Beasley's unders and his rebounds. You may want to go ahead and take a look at that. Stuff like this has been going on for decades. There's going to be more of it because, yes, gambling is more legal, but there's also going to be more of it because these gambling partners are also sharing the data. So people like Malik Beasley can't get away with going 3 under their average for the season for a string of games.
I think it's a guy like Malik Beasley because if you're a LeBron-level superstar, frankly, you don't need the money you're going to get from gambling.
Calvin Ridley was a big-time player, a star in that league, and it didn't really resonate.
Yeah, he was a receiver.
I don't think you can don't need the money when, like this, I believe athletes are more, like I don't have any metrics on this, but I would say athletes are more inclined in terms of generality to be the obsessive, compulsive, kind of addictive and competitive that would make people more prone to the temptations of gambling and competition than the average person. I would think that the average athlete is more susceptible to these temptations based on just human personality traits that would make them great at their jobs, and then they couldn't necessarily turn off when they left the facility because there's an addiction to competing as well. This is what Michael Jordan always said. He said he didn't have a gambling problem. He had a competition problem.
It's also not always about that. You never know what position an individual's in if they're being dragged into that. It could be some sort of leverage play, them trying to get out of a bad situation. It's not always because this person just likes to chase a bet here and there. It's not always like that.
Yeah, I think that's the danger to leagues is that if Malik Beasley is not working alone, so to speak, if he has people he's beholden to for one reason or another, then it becomes more of a network issue, not just one person. But Malik Beasley thinks, I'm guessing, I'm a middle-class player. the attention is not going to be on me like it would be on KD or somebody like that.
Everyone knows what the dangers are here.
He's a former felon.
I think they do now.
He's a former felon. Like bringing this into his life, allegedly, it's high risk game for him.
I never know when you guys start saying someone doesn't need the money. I don't know where the line is on can Michael Jordan ever have a gambling problem? And the way Charles Barkley says it is, I can afford it. I like to gamble. I don't have a gambling problem. I can afford it. There are very few people, though, in the tax bracket where Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley exist that you can have a gambling problem and it doesn't actually affect your life in any meaningful way. When you get caught on one of these spirals, like I remember what it is that Travis Henry, the former Bills running back, got caught for, I think, after his playing career, because once you get used to making a certain amount of money in a certain lifestyle and you start getting into a range where you're gambling too much on airplanes or wherever else with people who are flippant around money, you could lose a lot of money very fast and find yourself in a problem that makes you make compensations on your principles, even though you know what the risk is. I wanted to show you guys something, a little bit of news that came in. DeAndre Ayton opted out of his contract in Portland, and I just want the picture put behind me that they used with this story on ESPN.com of DeAndre Ayton. I want you guys to look at this person and tell me how old this person is. Tell me how old that person, DeAndre Ayton, is based on his photograph.
I would guess like 48.
Yeah. 53.
27.
Billy got it exactly right.
Did I?
Wow, you are really good at this game, Billy. He is 27 years old somehow. That is impossible to believe.
Wow.
Federal cocaine trafficking conspiracy for Travis Henry.
You should have put a little pause between that and DeAndre Ayton so that people didn't think that it was DeAndre
I thought we were talking
Ayton.
soccer.
He's actually turning 27th this month.
So he's not even
still
26.
He looks old for his age.
That's
then.
high mileage right there.
We're going to get to Inter Miami in a second because, as you guys know, it is Mercurial Mike Monday, as it is every Monday
Congrats,
around
Mike.
here.
He doesn't like that.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Mike. It's a Mercurial. It's a compliment to all the things Mike is. I wanted to tell you guys something that happened to me yesterday that continues to offend me on this front, even though I remain somebody shouting at the bottom of a well and no one cares about my complaints. I told you guys the story of walking into a Trader Joe's and holding up a piece of cash in front of the cashier, and the cashier is so used to automated no one pays cash anymore that it was 6 o'clock in the evening, and the cashier said to me, "Oh, I'm sorry. That's the first time anyone's offered me cash all day." And since then, there have been more and more places that simply will not accept my cash. They won't accept it. They are card only as a philosophy. You heard me say this is un-American. But this weekend, it went a step too far. When I am giving someone cash and they have to give me change and they hold up an American nickel and say to me, "How much is this one worth?"
What?
On a coin. And how much is this one worth? And I said 5 cents because they're so not used to anyone needing change in the establishment that I'm in, because everyone is using a card, that it's not just from last week's lament that cursive is now being expunged from old people. Are coins now being expunged? Are we raising a generation of kids who don't actually know that what a nickel looks like? Are we put it on the poll at Le Batard Show? Are we raising a generation of kids who do not know what a nickel looks like? Because this was not a teenager. This was an adult that did not know that a nickel was worth 5 cents.
The answer is yes, and I have done a back in my day on that, on your air and in this book. How about that?
Wow. You know what I did this weekend, Dan, because I'm getting old? I noticed my car has like little slots for coins in it. And I said, you know what? I kind of want to fill up those slots with some coins, and I wanted to start paying with cash again and with change again. So I have this little jug that's a money counter. So you put in the penny, and it keeps track of how much money's in there. But it's been years since I've actually used it. It just kind of sits in the corner. And I looked, and it said it had like $60 in change, but sometimes I take some in, I put some out, whatever. So I went and I did penny by penny, nickel by nickel. I found out it was only $38 in there. So somehow I've spent like $28 in change that I wasn't aware of over the years that I thought I was short. But I went and I put it in my car, and then
Dano, the free agent frenzy continues. First per Jordan Schultz and now per Adam Schefter. ESPN sources the Miami Dolphins have agreed to trade 3-time All-Pro cornerback Jaylen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers. As part of the trade, Ramsey will get a $1.5 million raise this season, bringing his compensation up to $26.6 million.
My dad's first thought, shit, I got to write a column.
Hell yeah.
I mean, he's been on the trade market for about 9 years. I don't know if I always judge breaking news by how surprising it is. It was just a matter of time until they traded him, right?
So you don't want to have to go write it. Is that just you pitching why you don't need to go write a column?
That's how you react to a major name.
Didn't he have a rivalry with DK Metcalf? That'd be cool.
I can make the argument that Jaylen Ramsey is one of the best athletes in the history of the state of Florida. From Florida State on, one of the top 5 Florida State athletes I've ever seen.
In terms of like being jealous that they're a Knoll and not a Kane, Jaylen Ramsey's right up there with Dalvin Cook.
I don't believe, this isn't even arguable. The Jaylen Ramsey era here didn't produce any of what it was supposed to for anyone but Jaylen Ramsey, who I believe delivered on everything it is that he was promised to be, and they didn't have enough around him to rise to his level of excellence. And now a very long career heads to Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers and a team that's totally in win now mode. In a way the Dolphins aren't, right? The Dolphins can't be seen as being in win now mode, given that they're now paying the penalties of all they were all they didn't accomplish the last 3 years while being in win now mode, and now they can't afford Jaylen Ramsey.
Yeah, particularly because it leaves their cornerback position probably the weakest cornerback room in the league, or close to it.
That's cool that he and DK get to fight in practice every day now too. It was for a couple of years really fun to watch those two go at it.
And a quick correction, Jaylen Ramsey actually tweeted out a pre-produced video 1 minute before the reporters actually had that information.
How do you know?
As he tweeted, break my own news.
He tried to sort of change the paradigm some, and couldn't be anything but a copycat given that he was following Deion Sanders at FSU. But when he shows up to Jacksonville for, camp in a Brinks truck, was it because
I forgot about that.
Was it because he was about to be paid or he had been paid? Why is it?
I think it was like, I want to get paid.
Yeah, he was. Pay me.
Jaylen Ramsey has
traded him.
Jaylen Ramsey has tried to manufacture his own news with music videos or making viral noise for about the last 5 to 10 years. And what I associate with him in no particular order is extraordinary Florida athlete, showed up in a Brinks truck at Jacksonville, and immediately Jacksonville got scared and traded him because of everything that was in copycat Deion Sanders style, and did an interview with, I believe, GQ, in which he said, among other things, that Josh Allen sucks and would always suck, and just crushed an assortment of quarterbacks, and then never spoke that honestly to the media ever again after that story, because he said Josh Allen was going to suck. But take me through the history of this right here, where he's showing up in Jacksonville with duffel bags emerging from a Brinks truck, and you're telling me he had not yet gotten his money? Are you sure he had not yet gotten his money? It looks like he's gotten it.
It claims here in this article that it was a nod to the fact that they need to pay him.
And it was at the start of training camp, so I assume he wasn't paid yet and showed up to training camp with a bag full of money, which seems like the opposite.
Seems like Adidas helped him out with the activation, with the Feel the Boost tagline, and him coming out with an Adidas bag.
Yeah. That was July 24th, 2019. He was traded to the Los Angeles Rams by October 15th of 2019.
Hall of Famer?
Can you look? I'd say so.
Yeah, Super Bowl champion. I think he's Hall of Famer.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't.
Even more impressive than Super Bowl champion, AFC championship game with Jacksonville.
At his position, you start by looking at at career interceptions, and his total is not.
No, because they don't throw on him. I think that guy's for his generation, probably top 3 at the position.
I don't think
right.
I don't think that Greg Cody is using the right necessarily using the right metric for the modern age. The story I've told you guys this story before, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite Deion story. It was against Wanstead's Bears. He only had Steve Walsh as quarterback. Steve Walsh couldn't throw the ball very hard. Deion Sanders was on the opposing team. Dave Wanstead was the coach of the year. Muddy field, playoff game. They avoid Deion Sanders so much, muddy field playoff game, his side of the field so much, that they lose 44-3. And after playing an NFL playoff game in the mud, Deion Sanders is running off a field and his uniform's not that dirty after playing an entire football game because they wouldn't throw to his side of the field. And I asked him if he'd ever played in a more boring game. And the only reason Deion Sanders is a better athlete than Jaylen Ramsey at FSU in my memory is because his answer was, yeah, it's called baseball. Jaylen Ramsey is a Florida athlete. I don't know whether people care about this stuff, like Anquan Bolden when he talks about being the athlete of the year in the state of Florida and that there are 10 guys in his neighborhood who are better than he is. For Jaylen Ramsey to be one of the best athletes in the history of the state of Florida and at FSU, combined with the fact that people wouldn't throw to his side of the field when he played because they were afraid of him, there has to be a better metric than the one that you're using there, interceptions on a cornerback.
But let me give you another metric, and I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all, but Pro Football Reference has a Hall of Fame monitor, and its Hall of Fame monitor says the average Hall of Fame DB rates 96.9, and right now Jaylen Ramsey's career metric is 59.3, like 60% of where he needs to be a Hall of Famer. I could be wrong. I'm not a Hall of Fame voter, but I think he's got a lot of late career work to do to be thought of as
Don't you
Hall of
believe
Fame.
that his name is the one associated with best corner at the position? And when you're throwing around the names, you're going to throw out half a dozen of them. And over the course of a decade, his name is going to be one of the first that you're mentioning as a name corner.
7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time AP first team.
Yep.
A name shutdown corner.
There's an argument. And 7-time Pro Bowl gets your attention. 24 career interceptions in a long career does not.
Turning 31. It's going to be.
Yep.
He's already fallen off some. There's been talk about moving him to safety, which, by the way, could give him extra longevity. Charles Woodson as a lockdown corner, we were having these discussions. Is he overrated? And then he moves to safety and becomes a depoy. So maybe that's a move for him.
One other sports thing that I wanted to get to before, speaking of Pittsburgh, before the show ended today, and I know that we're doing more and more of it these days, where burying pieces of your childhood, Greg, as you age. I know that this is happening more and more for you. And so every couple of weekends, a Dave Parker, someone who was a part of my childhood, who introduced me to baseball, someone who looked unlike anyone I had ever seen in a baseball uniform before because he was so big. He was 6'5", and he was just clearly stronger than everyone else, and his arm was stronger than everyone else. He is a time in Pittsburgh baseball where Pittsburgh baseball, the only time in Pittsburgh baseball, came to rival what it is that the Steelers were in town because of how Pittsburgh baseball mattered during his time and during Barry Bonds' time. And he had been sick for a while, and he had been, in a way, when he had been in public, he had been so physically weak that you had warning that this was coming, and yet still, when it's a sports figure that reminds me specifically of the childhood awe and wonder I had before cable television of discovering an athlete. I'm not even sure that the way that I discovered Dave Parker in the late 70s as someone being introduced to baseball just because the Yankees play spring training games in Fort Lauderdale. I'm not sure a kid today can discover an athlete the way that I would have discovered an athlete in 77, where you're seeing them at a spring training game for the first time, before you see highlights, before you see social media, before you even know what someone is, that the only access to information you would have is not cable television, it's magazines, it's baseball magazines over the summer, or a game of the week that doesn't allow you the nightly access to both highlights. This is, when Dave Parker dies, it feels to me like you're resurrecting a portion of my childhood I have not thought about in a while, and then you are burying it again and making me sad because you're reminding me of a connection that I will never have to an athlete again.
Yeah, he finally made the Hall of Fame just before he died, which is a victory, I think, if you're a Dave Parker fan or a fan of that era. But he also had a personality. Like he had a bravado to him, an aura to his game. It wasn't just the power or anything. He was an all-around player, a great right fielder, and yeah, I was very fortunate to have him on my podcast once, and I only say that because back then I'm like, wow, Dave Parker agreed to be on my podcast, and it was a big deal, and I was really honored to have him
actually,
on.
you only say that because you wanted to say that you had him on your
that's
podcast.
True. Yeah,
that is the
that's
only reason that
true.
you had.
Yeah.
And I should also say that was at a time in baseball that there weren't a lot of black players. That was a black team because they had Dave Parker and Willie Stargell on behalf of Pittsburgh, representing Pittsburgh in like we're physically more imposing than you ways in baseball that people weren't used to seeing.
He also was elected to the Hall of Fame, but his induction hasn't happened yet. It's in a couple weeks, so it was this year that he got elected in.
At least he knew he made it, though.
Yeah,
yeah, fair.
It's just a sad kind of note is that he
didn't quite get there. Yes.
He made it. No, he's in. He just
he
didn't get to enjoy it. Like I've said before, the greatest thing about making the Hall of Fame is that it becomes a fountain of youth. You're here to point out, not in this case.
No, what? No, I had a Dave Parker bat.
Did you?
Yeah,
Now,
that was my dad's,
fun
but
fact.
I used it. And my friends broke it. And I had to explain.
Was it
to my
signed?
dad.
Oh wow.
Was
Well,
it?
no, it was a Louisville Slugger. It was like engraved signature signed. My friends broke it.
It's a big black bat, right?
This one was not. It was like a regular tan color. What would you even call that color bat? Tan?
Beige?
I don't know. Wood grain?
I thought that, well, do I have maybe my memory's wrong on this. I remember Willie Stargell having a big black bat.
Okay.
Inter Miami?
The big one.
Just Googled Willie Stargell, big black bat. I'll let you know what comes up.
Checks out.
After last Friday's Google searches, nothing surprised me with you, Jeremy.
Skip past one of his cock.
Inter Miami, Greg Cody, I want to read directly from his column. Would you guys like to hear directly from Greg Cody's Miami Herald column today? Greg Cody, now that he's a grandfather and he's softening in old age, he has a moral victory column. The scoreboard says rout. It says the loser was not just beaten, but closer to embarrassed. But more needs to be said of how the FIFA Club World Cup ended for Inter Miami on Sunday in Atlanta. Sometimes in sports, not often, a team gets to leave a game feeling almost as if it has won, no matter the scoreboard's clear descent. Athletes and coaches are loath to admit even a shred of positive in any defeat, let alone in the immediate aftermath. But if ever the moral victory existed, can't Inter Miami claim some of that even after a 4-0 defeat?
Stop being a homer, Bo.
I believed that before the game, and I'm not going to change my opinion because they lost 4-0 to the best team on the planet. And my opinion was influenced somewhat by a much, much better second half. Now, granted, PSG took its foot off the gas pedal, I'm sure, perhaps out of respect for Messi, but they were much, much better in the second half. They controlled the ball more. PSG, their ball possession is like nobody else on earth. It was more than 73% in the Club World Cup, and it was almost 70% yesterday, about 65, I think. So they just control the ball. Miami couldn't get it in the first half. That's not on Miami. That's on them playing the best team on earth. I think, and I think Mike agrees,
it was an ass kicking. It was ridiculous.
It was a crazy ass kicking.
Absurd ass kicking.
I've never seen a team get All right, so PSG had 4 goals
The
in
first
that
half
first
was
half.
ridiculous, right?
Miami had 3 completed passes
Right.
in PSG's
Yep.
end of the pitch.
They couldn't get the ball.
It was as thorough and ass kicking
Yep.
as you can. And you know what? Sometimes that it looks like that when one team has a $1 billion roster and the other team has a $60 million roster. I do agree with your point, though. This is one of the greater achievements in club soccer history in this company. They went through an entire group round. They didn't drop a game. Their first loss in the competition is to the reigning European champions, who, by the way, in the final against Inter Milan, won 5-0 and beat them up pretty good. But I understand the point. Let's take a treetop view and say this is one of the best achievements. This team is only 5 years old, and in 5 years, they have what is arguably the greatest achievement in club soccer in this country. But at the same time, you can be really disappointed with how they approached that game and what they needed to do. Obviously, they're going to have an outsized effort. They're going to have to play really smart, and they showed that they couldn't.
No, they were intimidated. They just almost visually were beaten before the match.
That's not
even
intimidated,
began.
though. When your first half is called a bloodbath by your coach and you can't get passes in, that's not intimidating. They're just a good deal better than you. That's
Right.
okay.
It's expected. It's the Champions League winner. They're a couple of weeks removed from beating Inter Milan in the final in one of the biggest ass kickings we've ever seen in a cup final. So that was some. I mean, we getting some feedback.
Well,
here?
here's what's happening. You guys can go into the parking garage. There are people working on the other side of this wall. I just walked into the garage, and they are using like very large tools to install something on the other side of the wall. It sounded earlier in the show like I was being hit in the head with a shovel.
Yeah, it sounded like a sandblaster.
And so they're working on stuff out there, but we keep giving you content. We don't care what's being erected around here. You two, though, specifically, are sitting here arguing on behalf of the achievement when they were embarrassed. They should be embarrassed by being in a game where they have no practical chance to complete a pass.
Yeah, I mean, if they hung on to their 2-0 lead against Palmeiras, which actually made it to the quarterfinals, they avoid PSG entirely and do battle with Botafogo, and that game probably makes you feel better as an Inter fan. I don't know if they go on to advance, but they certainly do better. They have chances in the final third as opposed to what PSG did, which totally let off the gas in that second half and changed players in. But when they put in their subs, they put in Dembele.
I know.
Like,
their best player.
It's an insane embarrassment of riches.
It's crazy.
And Inter Miami have its limitations. Even you have Messi and you have Jordi Alba doing the best that he can, but Luis Suarez obviously is super limited, although he showed you a moment of brilliance in this tournament. I think there was plenty to be proud of, and they ended up making north of $20 million, which is an insane haul for an MLS club, certainly more than they've ever made for any of their on-pitch successes by a hell of a lot. So from a football standpoint, major success, and you can honestly say it's one of the best achievements in MLS club soccer. It's just sad to put it that way after you get drubbed.
Whoa, the Steelers have traded, is this true? All-pro safety Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins in exchange for Jaylen Ramsey? Is that...
yeah, player for player.
Great trade.
It's all of a sudden the conversation. Great trade.
He's back.
Great trade. Says so.
That's a great trade for the Dolphins. Are you kidding me?
They traded Minkah Fitzpatrick more earlier than anyone wanted him traded, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, if you're talking about interceptions, and that's the stat you're going to use. That's a bit of a surprise, is it not?
A 1-for-1 all-pro for all-pro trade in the NFL? When's the last time? I don't think this ever happened.
And the Dolphins got the younger one, right? Like by a few years.
Also seems like Ramsey is going to make that move to safety if that's the case.
In another position of need.
That is okay.
That's a smart deal for the Dolphins. Ramsey's fading. You can put him in Canton already if you want to, but he's a fading 30, almost 31. Had 2 interceptions. I know you don't like interceptions.
That's lockdown corners don't get thrown on.
No,
Greg, they don't have the opportunity.
Minkah Fitzpatrick does produce interceptions. Like I don't.
That position will, and I imagine if Jalen Ramsey gets moved to safety, you're going to see his interception numbers go way up, the same way that they did with Woodson and Woodson before him.
Okay, you know what? Corners who aren't thrown to that much find a way to get interceptions. Tell
Put
me
that on the poll.
Okay,
Hold
what is Deion Sanders' career interception
Let's look up
total?
Reedus.
I guarantee it's more than twice that of Jalen Ramsey. And I don't even have the stats in front.
Minkah is 28. Go ahead and look up the stats if you're guaranteeing stuff. We do need to look up more of the advanced metrics. I would not use interceptions. I would trust that the people doing the scouting and people doing individual grading on play-to-play, route-to-route, taking into account schemes and who you're playing against is a much better, more accurate measurement.
What about the Pro Football Reference rating?
You like
it's an
it.
incomplete grade.
You
though.
like it, and it's a piecemeal thing that allows you to make it slightly more chewable. But I can't sit here and break this down intelligently beyond telling you that Minkah Fitzpatrick is a couple years younger than Jaylen Ramsey. Jaylen Ramsey will indeed probably have to change positions from cornerback to safety. I imagine he will be a very good safety.
Yeah, Rod Woodson, Charles Woodson showed this, and here's a good comp. Darrell Revis in 11 seasons played had 29 interceptions. Jaylen Ramsey in 8 seasons played has 20 as of the end of 2024. So he has an opportunity to catch up, and his interception total is aligned with a shutdown corner that eliminates the side of the field.
How about Deion Sanders?
Deion Sanders played in a different era and was a different player altogether.
But Greg is right.
And better. But, okay, the level for Hall of Fame is Deion Sanders? That's not the tipping point.
53 interceptions for Deion Sanders in his career, 24 for Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, he was a ball hawk.
How about,
that's not Jalen Ramsey's game.
How about Minkah Fitzpatrick? How many, if we're going to do it just with interceptions, we've got a cornerback for cornerback trade between two teams that
Corner
are,
for a safety.
Okay, yes, forgiveness.
20 for Minkah.
So it's 20 for Minkah, okay. And it's between two teams that, between them, cannot win a first-round playoff game, correct? Between them, since Ben Roethlisberger, there have been no victory. So much so that Mike Florio's on with us, and he's doing the tap dance of Mike Tomlin hot seat, yes or no. 18 seasons coaching, never a losing season, but can't get past the first round. Do you realize how absurd it is to say, in the modern age, in a show where I was talking about how quickly Toronto's general manager can be deposed, that one of the most amazing stats in sports is the Pittsburgh Steelers have had 3 coaches. That makes no sense.
I really wish Pro Football Focus was around when Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders were going head-to-head 2 times a year. You guys are old enough to remember. What was that like? The greatest DB ever against the greatest football player ever going up twice a year.
Oh, you know how that was. Jerry Rice did everything the right way, and Deion Sanders does everything the wrong way.
But who won? Who got the better of the other one?
Who won?
Who was better?
I don't remember.
Really?
Yes.
50-50.
Well, I mean, Jerry Rice won for all time because
Remember
his
how
team was,
awesome
his
Josh
team was
Norman,
the one winning.
Josh Norman versus Odell, when Odell was at the peak of his powers, was amazing. There are rumors that the NFL has buried that NFL Films video because of what was being said on the field.
The best one was Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan, right?
Well, he beat his ass. And for Andre Johnson to display that when that's not his personality type.
At all.
And it shows you why there are weight classes in combat sports as well. DK Jaylen Ramsey got up there, got pretty hostile.
But the best one we have seen, wait a minute, didn't Talib have one too? Didn't Talib?
Crabtree, right?
Crabtree and Talib, 2 guys who get so emotionally volatile and are at such a frenzied state of competition that inevitably they end up fist fighting because there's a disrespect in the middle of it. Andre Johnson, though, that was so far out of character. Everyone knew that was Cortland Finnegan being Cortland Finnegan because Cortland Finnegan could do that to anybody. But once you've done it to Andre Johnson, Andre Johnson's the rare person in demeanor where everyone watching that is like, yeah, Cortland probably did something wrong there. I don't know what he did, but
clearly,
but he probably did something that deserved that beating.
Yeah. Well, he was a dirty player, Cortland Finnegan. I mean, that was.
But I'm just saying, do you know how rare it is for a player to have the pristine reputation that while he's kicking someone's ass, you're like, yeah, that other guy probably deserved it.
We're doing some digging right now. Jonnu Smith has been linked to the Steelers for the longest time. Schefter's tweeting about it. There may be a Jonnu Smith angle to
Rappaport
the Steelers
says the Steelers are trading for Jonnu Smith, and he's one of Arthur Smith's favorite weapons as an offensive coordinator.
Seems like
1
2 different
year,
deals.
$12 million extension. So at this point, all in all, according to Schefter, the Steelers get Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. The Dolphins get Minkah Fitzpatrick and a late-round pick.
All right, so let's break this down quickly for a moment on the idea that the Dolphins have been win now for 3 years. They have been trying to get to where the Steelers are and failing. They have not gotten to so much as a playoff victory. Mike Tomlin is doing win-now stuff that feels desperate. This trade, both of these trades have been talked about for a while. I didn't have the Steelers getting both of the Dolphin guys. The tight end, obviously, is something that Aaron Rodgers has used very well over the years. This is going to be a short play, conservative offense like most of Tomlin's are. It's going to be a lot of DK Metcalf and Jonnu Smith are not guardable on button hooks, so let's throw a bunch of accurate 6-yard passes.
Steelers going all in.
It's been 21 years since the last trade in the NFL featured an All-Pro for an All-Pro. Wow. Champ Bailey for Clinton Portis. Wow.
But this is what all in looks like if you're the Steelers and you've got a coach, one who has as much stability as an organization can ever give a coach, but also has provided as much stability as a coach can provide. And this is a season of uncommon pressure for Mike Tomlin because of the desperation he welcomes into his huddle in a win right now Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers are going to be just aggressively all in on Tomlin either gets further in the playoffs this year or he's in big trouble.
The problem is you would think that the Dolphins would have been in that same mind frame. They trade a Pro Bowl cornerback at a position of great need that really leaves them bereft at an important position, and they trade Jonnu Smith, the former FIU Panther, who had a great season for Miami last year. He came in as a very offensive tight end and did just what he was supposed to. So they missed both of those players.
I'm going to guess, though, that McDaniel feels like he can do that with a tight end, whoever that is. I mean, it's one of the reasons that they let go of Gesicki, who
I'm sure
did
he can.
stuff like that still with Burrow, because I'm guessing that that's a position that they feel is pretty disposable. But it's not going to be for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers.
It wasn't until last year, though. It was weird. Tight ends always produce in that zone scheme that dates back to the Shanahans, and it wasn't until Jonnu got here that they got that production. So to see him go, it's going to be
live breaking trade in the middle of the show.
Oh, yeah, I'm alive.